Well, anyway, I just want to say thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Those watching don't know it took so long to schedule this, and that's entirely my fault because I'm so bad at planning things, and
It's
I
okay.
ADHD. Anyway, thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Um,
I like your username. I'm a big fan of Martin Scorsese as well.
Me too. Martin Scorsese all the way. I watched The Departed about 75 times during high
Yeah,
school. Um, yeah,
yeah.
so thanks for having me. I mean, I haven't watched, so I tried to, before this, like, catch up on all your content. You have so much, so I feel like I watched a lot,
I
or
know, I know.
I couldn't watch everything because you have so much. But I only saw one other debate, because I don't know where you post most of them.
Oh, it's on my YouTube channel.
Oh, okay, that's where it goes. So I didn't know you had a YouTube, so I didn't watch any of the debates. I only saw clips from one. But
Yeah.
how long do these usually last? The talks and stuff.
I don't know until we run out of things to talk about. I've been going for 2 hours already, so
Oh, 2 hours.
we can go for like in 20 minutes or however long it takes. There's no cutoff time. There's no like time limit. Just until the conversation ends, I guess. I don't know.
Okay. Is this recorded?
Yeah, yeah, we're live right now on my channel.
Okay, great. So, all right, awesome. So I'll be able to see it later.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course, yeah, and I'll send you the link. But yeah, you'll be able to see it for sure.
Okay, great. So, I mean, I only saw that one other debate, and I don't think. I mean, I can't really judge on most of your talks with people online because I only saw that one other one. But in the other one, I feel like you had a point or two that I even agreed with, but the conversation just got lost because it got
Okay.
kind of like people were, whatever, arguing, whatever. So I wrote just a couple of questions and just a
Okay.
couple of points that I wanted to talk about your
Sure.
content too in depth. But
Yeah. Someone
yeah, just
said it gives off for chill stoner vibes.
I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm not a stoner. I used to be in college, but I can't smoke anymore because I will just go crazy.
Oh,
I'll be super weird. Anyway, I wrote a couple points, but before we get into that, I wanted to say number one, I disagree with pretty much 99% of what you say and what you share
oh,
in your platform. That being said, I think it's really
sorry, you kind of broke up there.
great that you've
Hello?
opened up the floor to. Oh, fuck, my
Oh,
internet sucks. Okay.
you kind of broke up. I just heard I disagree with 99% of the stuff you say, and then I
Okay,
couldn't
great.
hear anything else.
I said, before I get into my points, I want to say I
Okay.
disagree with pretty much 99% of the messages you share. But
Okay.
that being said, I find it really cool that you've opened up the floor, unlike a lot of male podcasters, to discuss disagreements. I think that's awesome. So thanks for having me on here.
Yeah, for sure. I'm happy to have discussions with people who think differently than me.
Okay, great. Awesome. So yeah, I mean, I feel like there's pretty much I could go into any TikTok you've made and the advices and the yeah. Let me know if this breaks up because my internet's trash.
Well,
Um,
let's just go one by one. So let's start off with I guess one of the biggest things you disagree with me on. Then when we finish discussing that, we'll move on to the next topic and so on.
yeah. Okay, great. Let me know though if this goes in and out because my internet's trash.
Okay.
Before I get into that, I want to say I want us to listen to each other as much as possible and like want this to be respectful. Although I
Yeah,
disagree
of
with
course.
your perspective on pretty much everything you share, I do value you as a human being, and I want to give you that
Oh,
respect.
thank you.
Well, that's the bare minimum. Don't you have to say thanks? It's the bare minimum.
No, for sure.
Um,
I try to keep all my debates respectful within reason.
yeah, and it's fine if we get hot, but you know. So I feel like I could go into really any one of your TikToks and kind of just like point out theological fallacies or why it's not very helpful. But
Okay.
before I get into that, I want to say I have a question for you, right?
Okay.
So you started this platform that's gained over 140,000 views. Yeah, 40,000 followers, sorry, where you give advice and on dating and love and whatnot. And you kind of position yourself as this guide. Yeah.
Well, I
So
don't want to brag, but yeah, I did get 140,000 followers. Yes.
yeah, no, and I think that's pretty, I mean, I think that's extremely impressive. That's awesome. No knocking to you. But my point is that you've positioned yourself as this guide, right? As this teacher almost. And you can tell by my username, I love Scorsese. I'm an actor and a filmmaker primarily, but even though I love Scorsese, I would not start a podcast saying I'm the expert on Scorsese filmography. I am the expert on his cinematography. Therefore, I am the one to share this information. So it seems to me at some point you could have kind of positioned or curated really your TikTok as this, hey, you know what? I'm just talking about my dating experience, bad and good. But that's not what you do. You say very blanket statements and you share your opinion as its truth. And you say that you're a guide, you're a teacher. So my number one question would be, what makes you qualified?
Okay, yeah, that's a question I commonly get. So I would say I'm qualified based on two metrics. One is that for the last decade, I've had a very successful sex and dating life, and that comes with by pretty much any metric. If we look at quantity of girls I've hooked up with, quality, and also relationships. I'm in a great relationship right now with a great girl. So by any metric besides marriage, which I wouldn't even consider that much of a success for a man anyway, I've been pretty successful. The second metric, which is I think a more important one, is at this point I've been coaching for about 5 years. I've coached thousands and thousands of men. Most of them get great results. Most of them are very happy. So yeah, by those two metrics, I would say I'm qualified to be a teacher. It's like if you take like a personal trainer, right? Well, what matters for a successful personal trainer? Well, one is that they understand bodybuilding and fitness themselves, and two is they have experience teaching other people. And if they have both of those things, I think it's safe for them to call themselves a successful personal trainer.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So my response would be those two metrics are absolute bullshit, and that doesn't mean that you're qualified. One, it does not matter how many women you fuck, right? Like if it's 5 women or 35 women or 70 women, or if you've had 10 girlfriends or 25 girlfriends, your own personal bias in your dating world does not mean now that you have the information about dating and love and the anatomy, right? Sorry, the dynamic of men and women. That doesn't give you any sort of qualification. And I feel like I would really implore you to consider that your own personal experiences do not apply to the masses. So, right, like I can sit here and I can talk to you about racism, and obviously I might have a more educated experience as a Black person, but that doesn't mean I'm the expert on it just because of my own personal bias. What would really be the expertise, what's really the qualification is the education you do elsewhere. And let me finish. I don't want to sound elitist. I'm not saying you need to have a degree in like gender studies or psychology, but there are thousands of TikTokers who are sex therapists, who are couples therapists, who are love therapists, who have gender studies backgrounds, who actually understand sociologically why women treat men and what they give and take from men and vice versa. You fucking a bunch of women doesn't make you qualified. So that's my first point. And then your second point, where you say you coach people, once again, it's not you coaching people online. It does not make you qualified. Do you understand that?
What in your opinion would be, you mentioned something about being a sex therapist. There's
well, absolutely. That's the thing. I'm not the one going online saying that I'm the expert on love and dating. You are.
Yeah, but the thing is that there's no degree that teaches this stuff.
There are degrees that literally. Do you not know that there are degrees?
What degree helps a guy with flirting or with optimizing their Tinder profile?
Psychology. Have you taken a psychology course?
Yeah. I went to a really good school. I had a degree I had a scholarship to Boston University. So I want to highlight once again, I don't want to sound elitist. I'm not saying in order to talk about have any observations on the world that like you need a degree because that's such a fucking snobby. But a psychology, the thing. Sorry, what's your first name? Because I feel like if I call you Martin Scorsese, is going to be.
No, you call me Martin. That's all right. Call me Martin. I find it.
Okay, Martin. Martin, a psychology is not going to help you optimize your Tinder profile, text girls, or flirt with girls. Psychology is going to teach you.
Yeah, I will.
And I've studied psychology pretty extensively. Psychology is going to teach you general psychology concepts.
So I just want to say, okay, real quick, I'd like you, if we're going to do this, I'd love to have maybe you take 2 steps back because I can see you checking other messages, and I'd love if you just had the attention on me.
I'm really not. I'm like focused on this
Well,
conversation.
I can see your eyes wandering, so if you could just roll back.
I'm just sipping on my kava, that's all.
Well, just roll back a foot then. If you're not doing anything else, if you're not checking anything else.
Well, no, I have bad vision though, so I need to sit close so I can see you. My vision is terrible. I'm like -6 both eyes.
All right. I'm like, yeah, you need some glasses, buddy. And and your TikToks would be like, what is it?
Yeah, I
Come
mean,
on.
I have bad vision. Like, it is what it is.
No,
Yeah,
me too. I got contacts and I
yeah,
have bad
yeah,
vision.
yeah. Well, I'm getting LASIK in like half a year. But anyway, let's get
Oh,
back to
I'm
the
so
discussion. But I
jealous.
promise you, I'm not going off other messages. I'm focused on this
Okay.
conversation.
All right. Well,
Uh,
I'm jealous. I want the LASIK too. Anyway, I'm just saying. Once again, yeah, I don't want to be elitist. I'm not saying you need to have a degree in in how women treat men or what men need from women, vice versa, because you can have observations on the world without being like academically credited. But there are sex therapists on TikTok. There are people who have degrees and actually have like studied extensively, have conducted studies, who are actually really well read in what women take romantically from men and what men need from women and vice versa. So I feel like you just fucking a bunch of women doesn't make you qualified. And like when people are giving you backlash, yeah, there obviously are some trolls who are just hating you, but most of the backlash, it's pretty good opinions. It's pretty like standard, like you don't know what you're talking about and you don't seem to have any understanding of that. Like you fucking a lot of women doesn't make you a good teacher.
well,
So
no, I
we
don't. Yeah, so let me respond to that. I don't think fucking a lot of women
no,
necessarily.
that was your first point, because your first point was literally that I've dated a lot of women. So you dating a lot of women does not make you qualified. Can you agree on that?
I think it's part of the qualification.
I
Like,
don't think it's part of the qualification. Just like me watching a bunch of Scorsese films does not mean I'm an expert on Scorsese.
okay, let me phrase the question like this. Let's say you're looking for a
Oh,
person.
no, it's not the question. Answer my question. What makes you qualified other than you dating a lot of women and other than you coaching? Is there anything else? Is there any other educating or reading you've done that makes you qualified?
Well, yeah, I've actually read a whole bunch of.
No.
I've read a whole bunch of books, but I never used
Well,
that.
what books? Well, which books then?
I've read Models by Mark Manson. I've read The Game by Neil Strauss. I've read a bunch of like books that were written by
Right, so
Anthony
two books by
Bourdain.
men. Any books about what women want from women or
But
no?
why do I need to read a book by a woman? Like what?
You're giving advice on men on how.
I have read
You
books
read
by
any
women.
books by women when you're literally giving advice
Hang on.
on how men should date women?
Could I please
That's
finish? We're talking about general psychology. I don't think you have to be a woman to
no,
talk.
we're talking about the psychology, particularly in dating and sex, and what women want from men and vice versa. So you should obviously read books written by women. You don't think so?
Well, first of all, I have read some of my favorite authors are female. Like the
Okay, that's not
author.
the question I asked. What makes you qualified?
I'm trying to answer that question, but you keep interrupting me. Just let me finish. I'm gonna answer your
I will
question.
apologize. I am interrupting you. Sorry, I
Okay.
get to it.
So I never talk about the books I've read because I think that's largely irrelevant. I think that in order to be successful in this field, there's two things you need. One is personal success, personal competence, and two, the ability to teach other people. I have the personal competence, which comes from my experience. I have the teaching success because I've taught a whole bunch of other people. I would argue that's more important than any kind of degree or anything else you can get. And I would flip the question and ask you this. If you're looking for a personal trainer, you have two choices.
No. I don't want any personal trainer analogies, because although analogies are a really great example to make your point, it's not the point you're making. So, do you have any other reasoning other than a personal trainer analogy?
Well, you haven't even heard my analogy yet. Like,
Well, yeah, I've heard you say it in other debates. Do you have any other analogy that works, or any other? Because you're not a personal trainer. Personal trainers are usually, they've worked out a bunch, or they've worked in the athletic field or whatever. They can understand muscles. You're not teaching about muscles or kinesiology. You're saying in a lot of your TikToks, you're making very blanket statements about this is how women think, this is what they want, and this is what they need from a man. So that's psychology. So I don't care about a physical trainer analogy. What makes you qualified to talk about women's psychology?
Okay, I've already answered that question. I'm trying to explain it.
And your answers are not good answers.
Can you stop interrupting me? Like, you keep doing this and you're very aggressive. Like, just chill out for a second. It's not that deep. I'm answering your question.
It's pretty deep. I mean, if you want to detract from the conversation.
No, but like, you keep interrupting me. You're not letting me finish my statement. Like, you're not letting me finish my statement. Okay, so if you don't like the personal trainer analogy, I'll do another one. Let's take when it comes to finance, right? So you have a choice. You can hire a person who got a master's degree in finance and they've been reading about it or learning about it, Or you can hire someone who has a lot of experience with investing their own money. They're multimillionaires, and they also have a lot of experience investing their clients' money, and they made their clients a lot of money. Which one of those would you hire?
The person who's degree, because once again, we're not talking about, first off, you're not a finance guy, right? We're not talking about finance. You did not create a platform talking about investing or crypto or whatnot. Also, I can see your eyes going elsewhere. Can you just pay attention to my thing? Like, I don't
Dude,
know.
I'm focused on you. Like, I'm focused on this conversation.
Or not. I can see that you're reading other things. I'm not a fucking buffoon.
I'm sure you know my mind better than me, but I promise you I'm focused on
No,
this.
you know, I'm not. I don't know your mind view. I'm only judging by what I see, and I can see you looking at other things.
I promise you I am focused on this conversation. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, your finance analogy doesn't work because you're not teaching about a subject like economics. You're teaching you're not like going online saying like, this is my story time TikTok and I'm just sharing my personal experiences. You say very blanket statements like, this is what feminism is. This is what women want. This is what makes you an alpha. This is what makes you a beta. And those are all very vague ideas based off of general psychology and just like social awareness and social observations. So you can't say that your number one at like what makes you so qualified in it. Can you understand? Can you at least consider my perspective that doesn't make you qualified? Yeah, like you saying, based off of my own personal experience, I've dated a lot. That's not a great way to what? Why would that make you a good teacher? Based off of my own experience with Super Mario, I should teach about Nintendo? That doesn't make any fucking sense.
I understand your argument.
Dating a bunch doesn't make you qualified because you're not qualified.
Okay, that's your opinion. I understand your argument.
Yeah, of course it's my opinion.
I fundamentally disagree with it.
Of course
But
you do,
what,
you're not
kind of what you're doing is called argument of authority. So it's like, well, you're not really qualified. So basically, you're questioning my authority, which puts my meanings into question. It's a common logical fallacy. You can look it up. Argument of authority.
It's not a logical fallacy. What I'm doing is I'm asking you, and you can try to detract and negate away. I mean, I'm really good with the illogical fallacies. That's actually not what I'm doing. What I'm doing right now is I'm pointing out the illogical fallacies in your own argument, and I'm asking you what makes you qualified to make sweeping statements about women and men and the dynamic between them when you are just speaking from your own personal bias. Do you not understand? Or can you consider maybe that your own personal bias is not a great foundation to create giant opinions off of?
Yes.
It's not like you're talking about peanut butter versus chocolate. You're saying in a lot of your TikToks, this is what women are, and this is what makes a man an alpha. You're saying very, very sweeping statements, but your only evidence seems to be that you just feel that way.
No, it's not based on what I feel. It's based on what has worked for me and hundreds of thousands of clients. Right. But I would argue that is substantially more of a qualification than any kind of a degree or higher education you can get.
You would be wrong, and then that's where
going back to the example I gave earlier. I'm just kind of shocked that if you're looking to invest your money, you'd rather hire the guy that has like 2 degrees.
Keep bringing up like other analogies that don't quite fit because they're not.
It fits actually really, really well here. We're talking about theoretical knowledge and real world knowledge.
A woman's a lock and a man's a key. It's that same really like simplistic, rudimentary analogy.
No, the disagreement comes in. The disagreement comes between theoretical knowledge and real world knowledge.
I'm talking about theory. You say things as sweeping facts, so you can't bring up now theory. You say things as sweeping facts.
Everything you learn in college is theory. I'm
not talking about college right now. I'm saying you're not qualified to talk about the subjects you talk about, and your only backing argument is that is a finance analogy and then a physical therapy analogy or whatever the fuck it is, a training analogy, and then the fact that you've dated lots of women. And I'm just pointing out to you, and we can disagree and move on, that that's not a great argument. And I really hope your impressionable young viewers realize that's not a great argument.
But you're saying I'm not qualified because I didn't go to sex therapy school or some kind of higher.
No, and I said before, and I highlighted before, I don't think that I don't want to sound snobby or elitist. I don't think you absolutely need a degree on any social observation to talk about it. But I'm saying that I personally, because my ego's not that fucking big, I would not create a platform saying I know everything about Martin Scorsese just because I love him very much. And it seems to be that you have started an entire platform positioning yourself as a guide, as a guru for young men, as a teacher, when really the only education you have behind you or understanding or reasoning is the fact that you've dated some people. That's not a great point of view. I'm sorry, in my opinion.
Okay, so if you're saying you don't necessarily have to go to college for it, then what are some other qualifications in your opinion?
Well, reading a lot and actually doing the research on it. You don't need to have a degree in something to know about it, but that doesn't mean I'm going to start up a panel and go to I love astronomy. That doesn't mean I'm going to go to a convention of astrophysics, of astrophysicists and be like, hey guys, let me explain to you what a supernova is. I feel as if you don't really know what you're talking about, and yet you speak with such conviction and arrogance. And that's where the backlash comes from. It's not because you're sharing your opinion, right? Like, I love the internet for that reason. You can share your opinion and be wrong. That's what the internet's for, freedom of speech. Say whatever you want. Doesn't mean that what you say is right, and doesn't mean that people have to go by it, and that everyone disagreeing with you is not a hater. Maybe have you considered the fact that some of the things you share you might be incorrect in via the thousands and thousands of men and women alike who disagree with you?
I also have tens of thousands of supporters. So the fact that there's some
I know. Yeah, there's a lot of really ignorant men out in the world.
Well, okay, that's not really a fair characterization. But the fact that there are some people on TikTok who disagree with me is not convincing of the fact that I'm wrong. You have to objectively point out what I'm wrong about, and you can't.
All right, so we can get into that. We can,
hang on. No. Hang on. Let me just finish this point. You said that you don't necessarily have to go to college in order to be qualified. You have to read a lot. Okay, I've done that. Aside from reading a lot, what else do you have to do to be qualified, in your opinion?
Well, that's the thing. I'm not, and that's the thing, right? So that's a very great, distraction tactic of saying, well, if you're pointing out the illogical fallacies in my argument, so what makes you right? I am not the one who started a TikTok platform saying, I'm not the one who created a TikTok platform positioning myself as a guru for sexual education or how women treat men and how women and men date and what they take away and give away to each other. You're the one who did that. So I don't need to tell you what makes you qualified. All I'm doing is I'm asking you what makes you seem so sure and so convicted in the things you share, and you can't really seem to answer me. And that's all.
I've answered that question multiple times, but you're saying that
your answers are void, and your answers are void. Your answers are not great answers.
Okay, according to your opinion, but you're saying that I'm not qualified.
Of course, according to my opinion,
you're saying that I'm not qualified to do what I'm doing, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so
I'm saying if you were just sharing, if you were just like, hey guys, like this is a personal, like this is a really great date I had, and like some tips and tricks I learned that worked for me. Or this is something that I've learned in my personal life that didn't really work out. That'd be different, but you're not doing story times. You say very blanket statements like, this is what feminism is. This is the truth of feminism. Meanwhile, you have no fucking idea what you're talking about. And I'd just like to highlight real quick, I'm not coming at you. I respect you as a person. I just think your opinions don't make much sense. So if you want to say again that you think I'm aggressive, we can talk about my tone maybe at the end.
No, you're pretty chill right now. You're just kind of like wilding out a little bit earlier, but that's okay.
No, wilder than that. I'm just very convicted in what I say, same as you.
I know, but you were like kind of interrupting, but you're good now. Okay, listen, you're saying that I'm not qualified, right? That's a statement. So I'm trying to figure out what, in your opinion, will make me qualified. Now, the one thing that you have been able to say so far is read a lot. I've done that. What else could make me qualified?
The you've named are also extremely biased and also all written by men. Have you read anything on the dynamic of men and women, on how the history of America's patriarchy and the idea of a nuclear family has affected the way that women date men? Have you read anything on that, or are you just talking out of your ass?
The history of patriarchy is not going to help you optimize your Tinder profile or flirt.
It's not going to help you date, understanding the world we're living in right now. And you know what? I'll make it a little simpler for you. Understanding the sphere of American politics and how women treat men and how men treat women. That's not going to help you date. Or did you seriously?
American? I'm actually quite well versed in politics, but how is understanding politics going to help you be successful in dating?
Right. So that's okay. So that's another great distraction that I would love to debunk real quick. So I don't want to get too political on here. I'm not saying that in order to understand men and women and maybe take more advice in dating that you have to be a feminist or that you have to understand like in-depth politics about sexism. That's not what I'm saying. But unfortunately, for all of us, politics do affect the way, and it's not even just politics, it's just like basic history. The way that women and men interact now is absolutely influenced by sexism, by the patriarchy, because the way that women and men view each other, what we give from each other and what we take, and I'm talking about straight people, obviously, is absolutely directly influenced from the history of America, judicially, socially, and financially. And if you don't understand that, boy, are you behind.
Okay, understanding. I fundamentally, first of all, disagree with a lot of what you said, but that's
Of course you do, because you're not very well versed.
Understanding patriarchy, understanding, and I have actually read up on this quite a bit. Understanding
Sure
feminism, understanding. Well,
right, Bart.
you don't know what I have and have not read, and
I know I'm joking.
I'm not an alt-right conservative either. I'm actually
I'm joking.
I'm actually like right down the middle.
You know, you'd have me duped on that. Really.
What? Sorry.
I said you'd have me duped on that.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely not like a far right conservative. But anyway, so understanding feminism, patriarchy, or lack of patriarchy, understanding
it's not a lack of it, it's a true thing.
Understanding social issues is going to do absolutely zero to help you successfully flirt with a girl, bring her back to your house, build sexual tension. You can't. Let me finish. You can't show up on a date and be like, hey, let me tell you how much I know about the patriarchy. Attraction is not logical, it's emotional. None of that stuff is going to help you build sexual tension. None of that stuff is going to help you make a woman attracted. All it's going to do.
If you're talking to a fucking idiot, none of that's going to work. If you're talking to a woman who's like relatively aware of her role in society, just relatively, that is going to help you. And the fact that you don't know that is really gobsmacking.
Telling a girl a bunch of logical facts about the world is not going to.
No, it's not about logical facts. You don't have to be correct. My point here is that you don't need to be a feminist and understand the absolute. Well, you should be a feminist, but you don't need to be like an in-depth, all-knowing, all-educated man about women's issues. But the fact that, you know what? Before I get into that, because we're just going to get off topic. So we've disagreed with the first point. Here's my second point, where I feel like we can't even really go into most of your TikToks, and I could debunk all of them pretty much and why any of it's not helpful. But the first thing I'll say is I feel like the reason why you think these things is your general foundation, the way you view the world, is pretty ignorant of sexism and patriarchy. And I know when I say things like that, all those stupid men in the comments are going to be like, oh, you're being political. I'm not trying to make it political. Unfortunately, those things exist. So you made a TikTok saying, this is the truth about feminism.
Yes.
And your general gist, and you can correct me if you don't agree with my paraphrasing, but your general gist was that you started off with saying, obviously, I think men and women should be equal. Great take, by the way. Never heard that before. And then your second point was that, but feminists these days, they're just blue-haired liberals, and they're just taking it to the extreme. So my question is, if you disagree with feminism, define patriarchy for me.
Patriarchy is is a system of government or institutions that is predominantly dominated by men, where men have an inherent advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. So, are you aware at all that that's America?
No, I don't think America is really a patriarchy.
So, right. So that's once again, and that's where I would like to point out where I feel like most of your foundations of your opinions are skewed, because that's not my opinion. That's a fact.
Well,
America, but let me finish. America, quite literally, judicially based, socially, economically, on all accounts, historically, is a patriarchy. So if you cannot agree with a basic fact, that's like saying the sun is hot, the sky is blue, America is a patriarchy. So if you can't agree with that, then no fucking shit, Sherlock. You don't understand the things I'm saying.
Okay, so we can get into that, but
we don't have to answer it. Like, is America patriarchy? It's a yes or no question.
I've already told you that I don't think so. I think countries
and that's where you're wrong, because that's not my opinion. That's a fact, brother. Read a goddamn book.
I've read many.
I don't know how to sit here and really listen to a person who says that he doesn't understand the basic social setting of America.
Okay, let me finish. Okay, so I think countries like Saudi Arabia and
I'm not
Iran.
talking about Saudi Arabia. I'm talking about America. You want to stick on America? Because we can do the whole
finish?
global. No, because we can do the global comparison all we want. Is America patriarchy? It's a yes or no question.
I've said no like 3 times. You want me to say no, no,
Yeah,
no,
and
no,
you're
no?
wrong, and that's where and so then
Okay,
that's
but
where.
you're just not happy with my answer. But don't make it seem like I'm ignoring.
No, I'm not happy with your answer. Your answer is literally, by definition, by the Oxford fucking dictionary, your answer is incorrect, and so there is no more. There's no extra explanation you can offer. You're wrong about that.
Okay, that's your opinion. Well, let me finish.
No, like that's what I want to say to your viewers. That's not my opinion. Once again, that is a fact.
You're wilding out. You're wilding out again. Just calm down.
Yeah, I'm wilding out because I'm confident in what I say. Go ahead.
Okay, but you don't. I'm confident in what I say too, but you don't see me wilding out, interrupting you. Just chill out. Let me finish my point, then you can respond. Okay. The point I was going to try to make is I think there are a lot of countries across the world. There are legit patriarchies, like in the Middle East, in Southeast Asia, in China, all those countries. There are. I don't think America is in any substantial. Hang on, let me finish. I don't think America is in any substantial way a patriarchy. That being said, I also think I have one video on feminism and social issues. 99% of my content has nothing to do with social issues and politics. So if you disagree with my take on feminism, that's fine, but that doesn't negate 99%. What?
Well, you offered that perspective. That's why I commented on it.
No, but I'm just saying 99% of my content has nothing to do with that. It's all about like texting and Tinder tips. So that just because let's just assume that I'm wrong about this issue, which I don't think I am.
You are. So it's not an assumption.
That will not negate 99% of my content, which has literally nothing to do with feminism or social issues.
Well, my point here is that, and you can disagree with me. My point here is that the opinions you give, right? And you are correct, where most of your content is not about that stuff.
99.9%, yeah.
Yeah, and I would agree with you on that, absolutely. But you're not making advice about women and dating in a fucking vortex, yeah, that has nothing to do. Like, you were making content about women and dating and the dynamic between men and women, which inherently is going to come from your idea of the world of men and women, and is going to come from your perception of the world around you, which is America. And if you want to talk globally, baby, we can talk globally, but I don't think you're ready for that. I think we can just stick to America, which is a patriarchy, which I'd like to put that out real quick.
Okay.
Once again, you keep disagreeing with it as if it's up for debate. It's not up for debate. It's a fucking fact.
What's your evidence for that?
You don't have a great understanding of patriarchy. If you do not have a great understanding of feminism in this world, then can you consider maybe that's why? Could you consider that maybe you might be incorrect about some of your feelings about women and men and what? No,
I'm actually really well read on this issue, and I've done a lot of research. Can you give me your evidence for the patriarchy, and I'll debunk it one by one?
No. If you're well read, what's your reading on patriarchy? Do you have any books or anything?
I've done a whole bunch of reading.
But name one. But name it then.
Okay, well,
so name
one. There's a whole bunch of economists who've debunked the.
So name one.
Okay, there's like a whole bunch of articles I've read, right? Like I can pull them up right now, but if you let me finish, I can explain it. There's a whole bunch of economists who've debunked the wage gap theory that has been thoroughly debunked. So
okay, so name one, like bring it up.
Okay, sure. Let's pull it up.
Just bring up one. No, but do you have to look it up, or is there any that you know off the dome?
Well, you told me to pull it up, so I'm going to pull it up.
Pull it up. But if there's not that you have anything that you know off the dome, or do you have to search it?
I don't remember the exact statistics off the top of my head. I can ballpark. Okay, but just because I don't read like your SJW reading books.
And that's the thing, so right, that's a great distraction tactic, and I love that negation tactic. Right?
No, but like you keep doing this, like just name one.
Because it's important. Do you not understand that your own bias in the world is not a great way to perceive things? That you might have certain experiences, which I'm not discounting your own personal experiences, but that does not apply to most people or most women. I'm sorry, but the 50 women you might have fucked does not mean that you understand women, brother.
Okay, here it goes. This is by Forbes.com, pretty legit source. Uh, okay, there are many media reports of gender gap, often claiming that women are paid only 80 cents of what men are paid, but the numbers comparing total amount of salary paid to men to women in the country does not take into account such crucial factors as profession, qualifications, type of employer, seniority, hours worked, and many other things that go into deciding compensation. When these basic factors are taken into account, the gender pay gap vastly decreases. For example, Pay Scale issued a report entitled that based on survey of 1.8 million workers, women still only make 0.79 cents on dollar. But the controlled pay gap, the amount women earns for every dollar the comparable man earns, was a small fraction of that. Women earn only 0.98 of the dollar that a man earns, not 0.80. So here we go. Here's a source that debunks the wage.
So right. So, but even in your own, even in the own article you brought up, it doesn't say the wage gap doesn't exist. It says that the numbers are incorrect. It still does exist. And that's only usually, and that's not even talking about intersectionally, right? So they're only talking about, this is first off, this is 2 paragraphs of a Forbes article. That's not an in-depth, detailed backing for why the wage gap doesn't exist.
I promise you, there's a whole bunch of science and studies on this.
They're talking about men and women. What they don't talk about, right, is the intersectionality of men and white women, men and Latin women, men and Black women, and then men and Asian women and Indigenous women, which the number changes drastically. And you can look that up right now if you want, because you're wrong, because you don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. It's still women, right? So when you compare women to men,
you don't think racism exists? Are we talking in a vacuum now? Women are just a model.
Hang on, relax. I don't think. No, I do think.
I'm relaxed.
I do think racism exists. I'm not saying racism doesn't exist.
Yeah, but then you have to take in the intersectionality.
But there's also Black men, and there's Asian men, and there's all kinds of men. So why would we look at a Black woman compared to the whole men? If we're going to look at a Black woman, we have to compare it to a Black man, right? So we have to control for these factors. It's not logical to compare a Black woman to the whole male population, right? If we're looking for sexism if we're looking for sexism, not racism. But I would argue all the stuff you're going to pull up is not actually the controlled wage gap.
You're the one who,
it's not the controlled wage gap. It's the total wage gap. Well, literally, it's the most disgenuine statistic ever. They just take the total amount of money that men make, total amount of money that women make, and say, "Oh, look, there's a 30% difference." Doesn't take into account the fact that men and women gravitate towards different careers. Men typically work longer hours and all that stuff.
Absolutely. So can I bring in? Okay, so I'm going to bring in. So this is another great thing that I feel like you maybe have not learned. And when I say that, I know that can sound kind of harsh, but I promise you, I'm not saying that to like make you seem dumb, or I'm not trying to insult you or anything. I really do think that you just have not learned these things, and that's fine. You know, I think you're ignorant of a lot of what
I promise you, I've read substantially more and learned a lot more than you think.
Based off of the content you share and what you say and the lack of critical thought behind what you say.
It just disagrees with your opinion. It doesn't mean that I'm not extremely well read on the issue.
Out of my mouth, I think you've said that about 7 times now. No shit, it's my opinion. I'm saying it right now. So my opinion is that I don't think you're very educated in what you say, but I would like to point out I don't think you're a bad person or anything. You're just ignorant, and I'm ignorant of a lot of things as well. The thing is, I'm pointing out that you're ignorant in, right?
What am I wrong about?
The wage gap doesn't exist because of a Forbes article you read. It doesn't take into account the information pointed out, which is good information, that it doesn't take into account like the choices of job professions and like what certain men choose and what women choose. So what I'd like to point out to you is other influences of the world, right? The other influences of America that get into that. The structure of the nuclear family, which has told women since, I don't know, the dawn of time that it's better for you to be at home. Women were not even offered the same opportunities as education in the last century, which obviously is going to impact over time the jobs that they think that they are able to do. Also, men would not even for the last century or two even hire women for jobs that they were qualified for, because how dare they have a woman in their law firm? You know, how dare you have a woman because they just assumed it would be better for a man. Women were also not allowed to have fucking credit cards till like 1974. And that's if in the certain state you were living in, your husband declared that you could have one. So women have not been given a fair like start economically. So for you to sit here and be like the wage gap doesn't exist is like simply one of the most ludicrous things I've ever heard.
It's also an argument that pretty much every serious economist stands behind. It's not just something I pulled out of my ass.
And you can just say that all you want. That's not an argument that every serious economist stands behind. You can just say things as truth.
You can do your own research on that. It's like climate change.
Once again, that's that sweeping statement you say. That's a serious thing that all economists say. That's not true.
Okay, let me finish my point. It's like climate change. 99% of scientists say climate change is real, just like 99% of serious economists say
99% of serious economists do not say that. So just because you repeat it again doesn't make it true.
It is true if you actually look up on the science and the studies on this. It's extremely substantially proven. I just showed you one.
So do you have any other article or any other?
I can show you articles for days on this topic.
So show me one more. Show me one more since you have them.
Okay.
One more.
Well, let's find one more. Not a problem.
You have to find it.
Yeah, dude, I don't have it like off the.
I know you don't have it. No, I don't know you have it just like queued up, obviously.
Okay, let's go to.
The fact that you can't like cite any of the evidence that you so use.
Well, because you're not going to believe me, so I know the rough figures in my head.
It's not that I don't believe you. It's that when I ask you for it, you don't actually have it.
No, I do. I do have it. Okay, hang on. Don't gaslight me. I do.
That's not what gaslighting means.
I do have.
You can say that again, but that's not what gaslighting means.
Hang on. I do understand. I do have the rough figures in my head. However, you asked me to see the article, so I'm pulling up the article. So it's not like I don't have the facts. Okay, so this is time.com.
You haven't stated a fact. You have just said sweeping statements. That's my point.
Okay,
you have not stated one fact, actually.
Well, I just showed you a Forbes article. Now I'm going to show you a time.com piece.
You showed me 2 paragraphs of a Forbes article, but okay.
Okay, I mean, we can make this like, we can just go through study after study. We can do that if you want, but I'm sure you asked me for one more. I'm going to show you one more.
Okay, so what is pointing out in here that isn't?
Okay, well, you just let me finish. I will explain that. So I showed you a Forbes article, pretty reliable. Now I'm going to show you time.com, also pretty reliable.
Yeah, we're on it.
Okay.
So where does it say that the wage gap doesn't exist?
I'm about to show you. Okay. It's going to be myth number 5. Women earn 77 cents for every dollar a man earns for doing the same work. No matter how many times the wage gap claim is decisively refuted by economists, it always comes back. The bottom line, the 23-cent gender pay gap is simply the difference between average earnings of all men and women working full-time. It does not account for differences in occupation, positions, education, job tenure, hours worked per week. When such relevant factors are considered, the wage gap narrows to the point of vanishing.
So that's your fact, which I find really interesting that you brought up. That's your point of view. So even in the paragraph that you brought up, it says even in that article that the wage gap exists. It's saying that no, that's what it says. It's what can you scroll up a little bit? Even in that sorry, I can't see the top part. All right, thank you. It says even in the article, the myth that you're debunking is the 77 cent for every dollar a man earns. That's what that little blurb. That's not a word. Blurb. Yeah, that is a word. That's what that little paragraph is debunking. What it's not debunking is saying that women and men are completely getting paid the same amount for every job. And it even brings up in your own paragraph that you're bringing up to argue with me relevant factors, such as men and women have differences in occupations, in education, where do you think those differences come from? Where do you think the position of women of being mothers and caretakers and being forced to take more so of a stay-at-home mom position, where do you think those differences stem from, if not the patriarchy and the idea of a nuclear family? So pretty much everything you bring up to me kind of proves you wrong, but I doubt you'll admit that with humility and grace.
Are you familiar with the concept of statistical significance when analyzing data?
So that's not anything. First off, I've been actually the only one here to like bring up statistics and actual facts. So you can just like say things as you want, as if like you're saying them in statistics. You're not though.
I'm pulling up direct statistics. You've pulled up 0 statistics.
You pulled up 2 articles. That's not statistics. That's not statistics, bro.
We got time.com and we got Forbes.com. Pretty reliable mainstream sources.
You know, these are written by like certain like editors and authors at the pub, they're not like this.
Yeah,
Isn't like
you're not going to write a bullshit article on
I can also bring up to you about 87
Forbes.com.
articles showing that wage gap exists. Like you're arguing a mute point, and you don't really have any backing for it. But
Okay,
my problem with you is not that we disagree on certain opinions. Like you can say your opinions, and that's fine. My problem with you is that you say everything with such conviction and arrogance when you have no.
Because what I say is backed up by economists, science, and
not wrapped up. It's not wrapped up, and it's not backed up by any sort of fact. It's your own worldview that you specifically go out and search for articles to prove your own worldview right.
So you think like the time.com or Forbes, like those were written by
you're like even reading it wrong. It says in the article that oh my God, I feel like I'm arguing with a brick wall here. Like it says
I just think you're getting like super triggered because I disagree with your biased opinion
it still exists. Maybe the idea of it or how crucial the wage gap is not as fraught, is not as dramatic as people make it seem. Yeah, that's what it's arguing, but it's still fucking there. So the fact that you're still arguing that this subject even exists is just hilarious.
Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to explain to you. There's a concept when analyzing any kind of data that's called statistical significance. So in order for something whenever you're analyzing data or studies, there's a concept called statistical significance, right? Meaning like, is the difference, is this something that's just accidental or is it significant? Like there's a big gap. According to pretty much no economist or mathematician, would a 1% difference in the earnings be statistically significant? That would not point to the fact that there is some kind of discrimination going against women.
The wage
that would be
gap
considered statistically insignificant.
That is actually more than 1%. So then, do you have any other argument? Because it's more than 1%.
According to one article, it's 1%. According to the other one, it's 2%.
According to two articles you brought up, that's not the truth, buddy. Like,
well, there's two more articles than you brought up.
Yeah, you didn't ask me to bring up any articles.
Okay, go ahead. Let's see your article. Okay.
All right. I don't know how to share my fucking screen. How do we do that?
It's at the bottom. You click share screen.
I'm sorry, StreamYard. Oh my God, I feel like an old woman. Like I can't figure out how to do this. Oh, Jesus Christ.
But it has to be a reliable source, like meaning it can't be like some random like website that no one's heard of. It has to be like somewhat like popular mainstream. Like Forbes and Time, like they're pretty well known, well respected.
Okay. Oh, I can just click. That's awesome. Okay, great. Here we are. Share. Fuck. Share screen. Don't show these tips again. Yeah. Oh my God, I really do feel Google Chrome would like to record. Okay. What the hell? Oh my God. I don't know what I'm doing. Sorry. Oh no, where'd you go? Oh no, that's Safari. Oh my God, I feel like an old woman. Sorry. Okay. Can you see my screen?
No, you gotta hit the share button.
I did hit the share button.
Just hit share at the bottom. Hang on, I'm just gonna turn
it won't let me. Chrome tab, window. It won't let me. This is so annoying. Oy, oy, oy. Oh, okay. I just had to click on the entire screen. Okay, my bad. Can you see what I'm looking at now?
No. You can also post the link in the chat, and then I'll pull it up on my end.
It says share. I'm sharing.
No.
Oh, I gotta fucking system.
You can just copy and paste the link in the chat, and then I'll pull it up.
We'll just do that because this is not working. Because I'm an idiot. Okay, so the link I have is the census from the government, so not much to argue with.
Okay, let's take a look.
Yeah, you can take a look in any state to see what your gender wage gap is going to be.
Okay.
You can pretty much any state to see the gender wage gap. Not much to argue with there.
Okay, well, it's probably going to be total wages, but let's see. In Puerto Rico, no gap in median.
Go down to the gender pay gap. There's a map. And you can click on pretty much.
Okay. Bear with me. The gender-based wage gap in the United States is now in recent years, but disparities remain. National median earnings for civilians.
You can go down to the map and click on any state,
Well, I do need to understand how they're determining this, so that I do need to read the whole thing. The national median earnings for civilians who worked full-time year-round in the past 12 years was 53,000 for men compared to 43,000 for women. So yeah, so this is the total money earned by men and women. This is not the adjusted wage gap that takes account into career choices.
How do you think that they? How do you think that they?
Because it says national median earnings. Median
Yeah,
means
which is how they calculate it, which is a really fine way to calculate it. You look at the median earnings.
Yeah, so that basically means you take all the money men make, you take all the money women.
Yes,
You look. Hang on, let me finish. You look for the median, right? And the median is 53,000 for men, 43,000 for women. The problem with this is explained in the article I pulled up. Is it does not take into account the fact that men and women typically gravitate towards different career fields and also work different hours. Right. So I agree with you that the median.
And that's what okay. Everything you're saying, though, directly backs up what I'm saying, because the things they're not even taking into account are, one, women not being offered the same education, just historically, not really in the past. Maybe, I mean, I'm just like, shooting here, but like maybe not in the past 30 years, but like generational wealth adds up. Women not being given the same options for education, so not even being considered for the same field as certain men. Women being just as qualified, if not more qualified, to be in certain fields like STEM and tech and the medical field and whatever, but still being denied because it's looked at as more of a male pursuit, and it's just more respected if men are in that. Women being forced to be at home, and women who are in very male dominated industries being given less of a promotion or being fired even for becoming pregnant and becoming a mother. Like, you can look up the statistics for all of this. So the things that you're saying are not even there, that aren't even like helping. They're not even taking into factor. They're not even factoring, are only proving my point even more so, because it all stems from patriarchal sexism and gender inequality.
Okay, let me respond. So the article that you sent me from the U.S. Census Bureau, which I agree is, you can more or less rely on the Census Bureau.
If you're gonna say that, can you go down to the map and click on about every state that you can, just to show you.
Right, but we have to understand how that's calculated. Sure.
Just to show your viewers, I trust their calculations over yours playing with fire.
There is no
calculations.
Okay, hang on. Male earnings, female earnings. This is median earnings.
Yeah, and then look at the wage gap that it says there, and then maybe look at every state ever. Just look at all of them.
I understand. Okay, hang on. I don't know if you're like purposely like playing dumb, or this is like this.
I mean,
you're not cognizant of what's going on. I'm agreeing. I'm agreeing with you that there's a median gap. That is not up for debate. There's of course a gap between how much the average man works and how much the average woman works. The question is this a result of some kind of discrimination, or is this because men and women typically gravitate towards different careers? So do you not think
that maybe that different careers and the other factors could be influenced by sexism and discrimination?
You're interrupting again. Let me finish. Don't you think it's important to compare men and women working at the same job when we're looking for discrimination? Like, do you think it's fair to compare a male engineer stop. You're not letting me. You let me finish.
Just the STEM field gap, wage gap. Look at the certain fields, because you said certain jobs, right? So let's look at the certain jobs.
Can you let me finish?
The median earnings of women in STEM occupations are 66,000, and about 74% of men's median earnings, which are about 90%. So that's the one job that you said, let's look at it in one job. Yeah, so I just picked STEM. So the gender pay gap across all occupations generally are 80%.
Okay. Do you think it's important when we're analyzing and looking if there's discrimination to make sure all the other factors are equal besides the gender? Like, meaning they work the same career, they work the same amount of hours, they have the same level of experience, they have the same level of education. Do you think that's important?
Yeah, I already said that. I already kind of combated what you said. I already expounded
Okay,
and said
so it is important. So
most of those disparities come from patriarchy. They don't stem out of some like vacuum. It comes out of the history of America, which is that women were not.
you don't think men and women generally gravitate towards different career fields?
Yes, absolutely. But if you're sitting here and you're generally going to say that has no influence and that comes out of a vacuum, that like women and men obviously are different. But if you're genuinely going to say your argument is that men and women are just going for different things and has nothing to do with the influence of sexism and patriarchy, I don't know what fucking world you're living in, but get a clue. Get a clue. My God, that's such a crazy thing to say.
Well, I'm living in the real world that's backed by science.
You're
And
not living in the real world. You're living in your
you're living in like this delusional feminist world where the whole
no,
world is against
and
you.
I love the projection. God, I love the projection. I do.
No, I'm not
I really
projecting.
do.
I'm going off
Oh,
statistics.
I do.
I'm
I
about
love it.
I'm about to debunk this what you're giving
You're
me.
not debunking anything because you're not. You don't
Well,
understand.
I can't debunk anything if you don't let me finish my
You're
statement.
not debunking anything.
Okay, just relax. Let's just do this one at a time. I'll talk, then you talk. Just take it easy. It's not that deep. Okay.
Easy.
So, so this statistic that you're pulling up, and we can go down to this chart. Okay, well, you like this chart? I'll pull it up.
Yeah, on a chart.
Oh, I accidentally wait. Okay, so for these states, okay, so we can see that for each of these states there is a median difference, right? However, it's not the adjusted difference in earnings. This does not take these statistics. Every single one of these does not, and this is according to the article. It's not according to like some speculation I have. Does not take into account the fact that men and women typically gravitate towards different careers and they work different amount of hours. And they have different level of experience. So you're going to have to show me adjusted where man and woman is working the same career with the same level of experience.
I just said that, didn't I? I literally just brought that up for you because you said that you wanted to see a more specific.
Well, where did you bring this up? I don't see it.
I looked up in the STEM field. You said you wanted to see when men and women are in the same field, right, doing the same occupation. And in the STEM occupations, women are earning in 2019 74% of what men are earning.
Well, pull it up.
Pull it up.
Pull
yes,
it up.
research.org. So it's not biased at all for all the people that just love fucking Breitbart in your comments. Here you go. Here's the link.
Like, first of all, it's like a completely also unfair categorization. I think most of my people in my audience don't really give a fuck about Breitbart.
Whatever, okay. Man. Look it up. Click on the article.
I'm about to. PewResearch.org. I believe Pew Research is biased.
Also, I just feel like, are we going to do this dance all night where everything I bring up to you, you're just going to have some other? Could you not have like any humility? Like, is there any room?
No, because the first thing you brought up was
wrong. Or are you just always right all the time?
No, if you show me legit data that's adjusted for careers,
I have. You just keep coming up with different. No. Your like worldview is so set. You are so set in what you think. That every time
you're certainly not going to convince me by constantly interrupting me.
That I'm being a social justice warrior or that I'm being difficult or whatnot, when really you're just so committed to what you think and you don't want to embrace the possibility that maybe you've been incorrect.
I will fully admit I've been wrong about things in the past, and I really don't give a shit about this issue that much. It's not in any way relevant if I'm wrong.
I give a shit about it because you're the one spewing incorrect content and incorrect information online. You're the one saying this is the truth about feminism, and you're wrong. You don't even understand feminism. So I'm sorry, I care.
Okay. I'm gonna have to start muting your mic when I talk because you seem to be incapable of like letting me finish a statement. Do you think you're capable
you're
of this?
Right. I've been bad at the interrupting.
Do you think you're capable of just letting me finish a sentence without interrupting?
Absolutely. I have been terrible at the interrupting, so I do apologize.
I don't want to have to like treat you like a little kid where I have to like mute your mic every time I talk.
No, you don't treat me like a little kid. I'm smarter.
Okay. That's cool. So the first article, we're gonna go through the second one right now. If you can show me good data, I'm fully willing to change my mind. But you still can't let me dude. I don't know why this is so hard for you to just let one person talk at a time.
You just said look at the article. You didn't like say.
No, what I'm saying is the first article that you show me that you showed me was not adjusted for expertise, for education, for job choices. That is why I dismissed that. It wasn't because I just want to dismiss shit for the sake of dismissing. Now let's take a look at the second evidence that you show me, and we're gonna see what's up with it. Okay, so let's start at the top. Okay. STEM jobs see uneven progress, increasing gender, racial, and ethnic diversity. It's just one path ahead. Black and Hispanic workers remain underrepresented in science. The creation of women's STEM widely across STEM fields will make up a large majority of workers in health by rating underrepresented clusters such as computing. Current trends unlikely to appear. Central Black and Hispanic adults are less likely to earn degrees in STEM, while now majority of undergraduate. Okay, I want to find the data.
Look at the state level findings and the national level findings. It's below.
Is especially large for Hispanics workers make total. Okay. Where do you want me to go?
It says state. Oh, sorry, I was on the wrong thing. Of those earning STEM degrees, earning STEM degrees, there are more blah 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 blah.
Women earn 53% of STEM college degrees, smaller than 58. Okay, I mean that's I don't know what that has to do. 2,000 women workers age 25 employed in Spence increased 1.5. Where am I going that shows discrimination?
And it says it's God. It's no like there's no not title but like subject line for it. It's under the blocked out like bold line where it says typical earnings for STEM workers are among highest Asian men. It's the third article, and not third article. Sorry, third paragraph where it says women in STEM jobs tend to earn less than that. The median women.
Okay, I think I found it. Okay, the Center for Analysis, but the other workers' sizable pay gaps between men and women.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's two paragraphs below that. Sorry.
In 2019, median earnings for full-time year-round workers aged 25 and older in STEM job were about 77. The comparable median workers in other non-STEM occupations, women in STEM jobs tend to earn less than men. The median earnings of women in STEM occupations are 66,000, about 74% of median. The gender pay gap in STEM has narrowed down from 72%, is wider in the broader. However, in 2000, occupations labor market trend has not narrowed. But this is the median.
Pew Research Center. So, what studies have you done that can discredit the people that have actually done these studies?
If you let me finish, I will explain that. So, this is talking about median earnings once again, similar to the previous article. So, this is a little bit better data because now we're looking at the same field, right? The median earnings are naturally not that good because what they're doing is they're taking every single man that works in the STEM field, they're looking at their median salary, and they're looking at every single woman who works in the STEM field, and they're looking at her salary, right? So this is better. Hang on, let me finish. This is better than what you showed me before because before it was like showing the whole job marketplace. This is better. However, it still needs to account for several things. It needs to account specifically what they're doing in STEM. There's some jobs in STEM that hire, some are lower. It needs to.
Changing your standards. You're not admitting maybe you don't know something like that's.
I'm just gonna mute you. Okay, you like I don't know why I have to treat you like a little child. Like, just let me finish my statement and then you can talk. You're muted right now, so no one can hear you. So I'm gonna finish my point and then you can respond. Okay, so this data, as I was saying, this data is better. However, it does not take into account hours worked, right, which is important, education. And all that stuff, right? So what you need to show me in order to convince me there's discrimination is the adjusted income, meaning something that takes into account. So if we're looking, what we need to do is we need to take a look at a man and a woman working the same exact position, who work the same exact amount of hours, or the same level of experience. This is what this is not doing. It's taking median earnings, but it's looking at the median earnings in STEM. And typically men tend to work a lot longer hours than women, which could account for at least part of the difference in the median earnings. Another one that could be is men might be more qualified in this field. I don't really know about that, but there are other factors that are not being considered into here. And this will be considered, I guess, biased statistics, right? Because it does not tend to account to that. And it comes to the conclusion that there's discrimination. It doesn't say that directly, but that's what's heavily implied. But this is not enough to suggest there's discrimination because, again, it does not take into those things into account. Once you start taking those things into account, like all the studies I've mentioned, there's a whole bunch more, the wage gap becomes close to negligible, right? Statistically insignificant. So that's my retort to that. I'm not just dismissing your data for the sake of dismissing. I promise you, I have no dog in this fight. I could really care less whether there is discrimination, there's not discrimination. I'm just trying to be genuine to the data and the science. And the science, this is not indicative that there's discrimination. This just means that the average man working in STEM earns 15% more than the average woman. But why is that? Is that because the woman is being discriminated against? Or is that because maybe men are working longer hours?
It's like you're just committed to being wrong. I mean, I feel like at this point, this is a viewpoint because no matter what I say, you will not widen your worldview or broaden
It
your
just seems like you don't have any science and data, and you're just now getting flustered.
Wrong and just nitpicking and finding information that just cherry picking and finding information.
This is called analyzing data.
That's all right if you want to do that, but I'm not going to sit here and even like take the conversation as if it's like a equal critical thought argument, because
this is called analyzing data. This is something that scientists.
That's not analyzing data. That's you cherry picking points and misunderstanding them to fit your worldview, which is what you've been doing this entire time. Don't get it twisted.
What did I misinterpret?
Left-brained, logic-based person. You're really not, Alex. You're really not.
Okay, there's no need to make this personal. I haven't personally attacked you.
It's not personal. What I said your name, now it's personal.
No,
but when you shit on women and all in your content 80% of the time, that's not personal. Okay.
First of all, I don't shit on women. Second of all, what exactly did I misinterpret when I was giving my explanation of the data?
Like, we're gonna move on because you're not gonna understand, and you're kind of just I fear you.
No, I understand the stuff really well. I promise you. I probably went to better school than you. I probably have more degrees and more research than you. So don't like pull this.
We have more degrees. We have more research. Yeah,
no, but like don't try to discredit my understanding of data.
We're gonna move on because you don't understand what you're talking about. Sorry.
No, but you haven't been able to point out.
Well, another point I have. The other thing hang on. Talking about you being alpha, and you have multiple TikToks explaining what alpha versus beta is. So my second subject I'd like to talk about is explain to me first off. The second thing would be to explain to me, for you, right, for men. Because I'm not a man, I'm not going to completely speak for men, what you think alpha beta means, and like what the main difference is. And two, why, the first thing I guess why do you subscribe to the theory of alpha and beta?
Okay, sure. If you want, we can change the topic. So why do I subscribe to the theory of alpha and beta? Because it's something that's pretty well established in when you look at animals, or in humans, at the end of the day are animals. In every group, in every kind of social dynamic, there's a leader, i.e. the alpha, and there's a whole bunch of people who are followers, i.e. the betas. And for guys to be successful in the dating marketplace, they do need to have more alpha traits, like being assertive, being dominant, being confident, knowing what they want. So, yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. So I guess my response to that is, so the alpha beta theory, it really just stems from that like misinterpreted idea of wolves has already been proven wrong. And so it's already been proven wrong that, like, yes, there are apex predators in the animal kingdom, and there are animals that are more predators and more leaders of the pack if they are an animal that has a pack. But that is not like a really great perspective, because it's not fully applicable to human beings, to men and women. And the idea of like men being leaders or physically protective, absolutely you could argue is biological, because before we, when we were the cavemen, or when we were a little bit even before that, just Neanderthals, there obviously were more of like, men are the warriors, the protectors that go out and fight and hunt, and women are the ones who stay at home or stay in the sphere that is considered as home or whatever. So you could argue obviously there's that like biological influence, but actually your entire ideology of alpha and beta, where that stems from and how applicable it is to human beings, is entirely proven wrong. So my question would be, like, why do you hold on to that so much? Like, does it give you a lot of guidance to believe that there are truly men who are alphas and that everyone else is a beta? Like, how does that help you in your personal life?
You don't think there's social hierarchies where some men are leaders?
There are social hierarchies, and that you can definitely say those social hierarchies, absolutely. But you're only looking at it through the specific lens, and you're talking about the world as if that lens is absolute correct, number one, and that it applies to everybody. The idea of alpha and betas is not the only way, or the only theory, or the only like social observation. It's not the only understanding of social hierarchy. That's the one that you chose. That doesn't make it true. That's just one of the ways you chose to look at social hierarchy. So why is that the way you chose? Because it's not truth.
Okay, well, you're gonna have to present evidence to me that's not the truth. But why do you not think that there are some men who are alpha and some men who are beta?
No, I don't subscribe to the ideology, which is what it is. It's
So,
one ideology you
so
have.
you think all men like are equal?
It's not equal in value. What are you talking here,
No,
morality? Are you talking
equal in terms of their attractiveness.
Absolutely, there's not. Just like it's the same for women and men and everybody. Yeah, there are people who are generally more assertive and maybe more command more energy when they walk into a room. There are also people who love to be captains and are bossy. There are people who love to stay on the wall and be more of a wallflower. That doesn't. But your lens of looking at it, I'm not saying that there are not men who are like some of the traits you talk about. You've mentioned to like describe an alpha or a beta, I even agree with, but I think that the lens in which you look at them is so, it seems so harmful to men. Like it doesn't seem like it's helping you very much because you've chosen this really like specific way to talk about these traits when those traits don't just like you can be an alpha and then sometimes take in your view you can be an alpha and then sometimes take a back seat. Like not every
Yeah.
situation in life requires you to be assertive and confident and know what you're talking about and know what you need and ask for what you want. And if a woman's like being vulnerable and weak sometimes is just a part of being a fucking human being. That doesn't mean you're a beta because you're weak in one moment or you had a moment of weakness. That's what it is to be a human being. That's kind of crazy if you're never weak. You're actually fucking insane if you've never had a moment of weakness. Like the things you talk about, you just talk about it in such limited ways. It doesn't even seem like, of course, it seems harmful to women, but it seems like it's not even helpful for men. So
Okay.
that's why I don't understand why you say this shit.
Let me respond to that. So the point you just made about you can be generally alpha, but then you can be like have a moment of vulnerability, and there's nothing wrong with that. I agree with. If you actually watch my long form content on YouTube, I literally say that verbatim. I say it makes no sense to try to be out 100% alpha in every single situation. I certainly personally have moments of vulnerability, and there's nothing wrong with that. I've even made videos where I was very vulnerable, talking about major issues in my life. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying it's like an all or nothing type of thing. I even go out my way to say it's literally not like that. But since you agree with me that there are some men who are more confident, assertive, and some men who are less so, that's literally exactly what I'm describing. Some men are
No,
more
I'm saying
alpha.
those are traits. Those are human traits. That's not, you're talking about it in such this like as if we're sim characters, and that when you have like if you're confident all the time. That's just like a
No,
really stagnant trait of yourself. And it's not a fucking video game. You can be assertive in some moments of your life and then also not be at the other points. Like the way that you talk about men just seems so stressful. It just seems so exhausting for men to like always shoot to be like the leader in the pack. Like you're not a fucking wolf, my guy. Like what do you want? You're not a wolf. You're not like every time you walk in a room, if you're like walking in a room, you're thinking like, who's the alpha here? And who's the big strong man here? What an exhausting fucking way to live. That's fucking
okay,
crazy.
let me respond to that. No one is doing that, and I'm certainly not advocating for that, to live in this paranoia world of like always trying to like out alpha every person.
Well, your content says
Hang on,
otherwise.
hang on. I'm gonna have to start muting you if you can't let me finish.
Your
Uh,
content says otherwise.
okay, well let me finish. No one is advocating for that. I'm not saying you should try to be paranoid if you're like, oh, am I always the most alpha guy? What I'm saying is there are some traits that are associated with being alpha, and it will be beneficial for a guy to work on developing those traits. These traits are things like assertiveness, confidence, dominance, leadership skills. I'm not saying you have to be alpha in every single situation, but you will benefit in the dating marketplace from developing those traits. That's all I'm saying. I don't know if you agree or disagree with that, but that's my whole point.
I agree. I agree that those are great traits, but my misunderstanding, I guess, or my disagreements comes from disagreements is not even a word. My disagreement would come from why do you need to ascribe those traits that are prevalent in like everybody to this idea of like being an alpha? Because then it comes. Doesn't the alpha part come with like a little pressure to you? That, like you can't ever have any of the other disadvantages of being a beta? Like to you, okay, you've described what being an alpha is. To you, what is being a beta?
Well, first of all, I don't think it's a black and white thing. I think it's a
But that's how
spectrum.
you talk about it in your content. You say it so black and white, which is my problem. You don't say it in these little TikToks. Maybe you say it on your YouTube, then maybe you should look into that. But in your TikToks, when you're talking about the stuff, you say everything with such black and white sweeping statements. This is what an alpha is. this is what a beta is. If a guy does this, that's beta. If a woman does this, she's not gonna. If you do this, a woman's not gonna like it. If you do this, that's alpha. You say things with such conviction, and you say it with such a black and white attitude. Maybe you don't feel that way in your mind, but your content, it comes off as very black and white.
Yeah, so on TikTok, I get 30 seconds to make my point, so I can't really get into the nuance. Hang on. I'm gonna have to start muting you if you can't let me finish.
You have 3 minutes. You can say I'm talking over you, but you have 3 minutes. You don't have 30 seconds.
Okay, but if you are a TikTok content creator, you know that videos who are over 45 seconds just completely bomb. You really have 30 to 45 seconds. Otherwise, the video has close to no chance of going viral. So if you want to be successful, you have to keep the video to like 30 to 40 seconds. So yeah, I have 30, 40 seconds. It doesn't leave time for nuance. That is why I literally plug my YouTube channel so hard. And I say, if you guys want to get more in-depth, detailed, nuanced content, go to my YouTube channel where I have hours to make very nuanced points. But I can't make very nuanced points in 30 seconds. That is why I make generalizations, because that's the only way I can communicate. Because if I try to get into the nuance, the video will not be 30 seconds. It will be like half an hour. That's the point to that. The second point to that is, of course, I'm not advocating that you should be like paranoid. And of course, I don't think like it's healthy or beneficial to try to be 100% alpha in every single situation. And I think there's nothing wrong with being vulnerable in certain situations, But yeah, like I do think generally speaking, a guy would benefit from developing some more alpha traits, like assertiveness, confidence. It sounds like you agree with me on that. So I don't even really understand what your issue with my content is.
The traits you're talking about are just human traits, and you keep looking at these traits like human feelings and human behavior through this very weird, limited lens that's very bullshit and been proven wrong. This lens of like alpha, beta, sigma, like it's such bro theory. It's not real. It's not like real science. Like Freud did not come up with this shit. This isn't like real psychology. Like these are just traits of human beings. Being confident is something that everybody, not just women, but like everybody's attracted to. That's just like a normal fucking thing. But you keep talking about this shit in this really like weird, like you can't be ever, you gotta be an alpha, you gotta be certain. Do you not find that strange? Like, couldn't you just say, hey, man, you should work on your self-esteem and your confidence. Women find that attractive. Why do you have to say it in this, like, you got to be an alpha sort of way?
You may not like the terminology. That's fine. But that doesn't.
The terminology is made up.
It's not made up. And we can, if you want, we can get into the science of that. But but you may not like the terminology of the word alpha, beta. You may not like that paradigm, but it doesn't neglect the fact that all the traits, which is really the bread and butter that come with being alpha, are attractive to women. That's the point I'm trying to.
Some of the advantages you brought up, the advantages you brought up of being an alpha, I definitely agree with those traits, those like very human traits. But some of the disadvantages you have said in your own TikTok, and that's fine if you want to go back and on your word and say that, hey, maybe you didn't have enough time to like really get in depth, and maybe you did go more in depth in your YouTube. But I haven't checked out your YouTube, and maybe that's my fault. But based off just of the things you shared on TikTok, you have said in some of your TikToks, this is what makes you a beta. This is bad. Don't show weakness. Don't be vulnerable. And maybe you've gone in depth.
I've never said don't show weakness and don't be vulnerable. Pull up the TikTok.
You have TikToks where you say like, women are not going to like this, women are not going to like that. And
that's not the same thing as saying never be vulnerable and don't show weakness. Pull up the TikTok where I say that, please.
I won't.
I'll give you any amount of money if you can show me a TikTok where I say never be vulnerable.
That part, but there are TikToks where you've said, oh my god, I should have just saved them. There are TikToks where you've said like this is the bad parts of like being, not the bad parts, but this is like what means to be a beta, and like women are gonna like this part.
Yeah, well, certain behaviors which are negative, like I don't know, like chasing a girl or like certain behaviors are negative, and I will stand by that. Doesn't mean I've said never be vulnerable. You will not be able to pull.
What you say is like chasing a girl, of like why is that bad? Like why some of the things you say about, I guess not even specifically chasing the girl. I should have wrote it down because I knew this was probably gonna happen. I should have wrote it down. But certain things you've said about like what it means to be a beta, it doesn't really, some of them I don't feel are disadvantages, and it just seems like really limiting for men.
Well, show me specific things that I've said that you don't think are disadvantages.
God, you have so much TikTok. I should have just saved them. Sorry, you have so much TikTok. You have so much content. I should have just saved them. Oh, fuck. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Truth about feminism. Damn it. You know what? I feel like I should have saved things. There is one where you talk about. Oh, here we go.
Is it beta to show your emotions around women? So the red pillars say absolutely not. It's super beta, never show emotion. And you know, the feminists or blue pillars say, oh, women love a guy who's super sensitive. So of course.
Can you hear this or no?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
The truth here is somewhere in the middle. You don't want to be the guy that's very emotional, that's always reacting to everything.
Okay.
Crying.
Well, keep playing it.
I will keep playing, but I'm going to dissect it bit by bit since you asked me to. Yeah. You don't want to be the guy who's too emotional. That idea is not your own. That is not a unique observation that you, Alex, came up with that is so revolutionary and no one else has heard before. Women don't like a guy who's too emotional. You didn't come up with that. That's a conditioned patriarchal thought that men parrot to each other time and time and again. And some women internalize it because of internalized misogyny, and they will treat you like a piece of shit, right, if you're too emotional. Being too emotional is not a fucking problem. You're a human being. You're a human being. Men are human beings. Women are human beings. There is no fucking too emotional. You said in this TikTok, crying all the time. Crying all the time, reacting to everything, crying all the time is not a problem. And I'm sorry to the men if you have been, if you're a man who's cried or you feel like you're very sensitive and you cry a lot and a woman's made you feel like you're weak for that, that woman is definitely, in my opinion, exhibiting some internalized misogyny because we also get taught, right, just like men are, that like men who cry all the time are weak little bitches. It's like, no, you're fucking a human being. When you're sad, that's what tears are for. When you're feeling lonely and weak and somber, that's what tears are for. The way that you describe, and you say it yourself, buddy. So if you want to go back on it, that's fine. But the way that you describe what it means to be a beta weak male, to be this like little emotional bitch, that's internal. That's fucking misogyny. That's toxic masculinity. I'm telling you, any woman who's relatively conscious and relatively self-aware will love a man who's in depth with emotions and doesn't mind being weak in front of a woman, because that means that you understand what it is to enjoy the human scope of emotions. Well, let's continue.
However, you don't want to be the guy that's completely come off from his emotions either, because that's not that attractive, right? So you want to be the guy that's generally speaking very stoic.
You want to be stoic. You want to be the guy who's generally stoic and grounded. Do you think that that's your own idea? Do you think that, like, you're the fucking Plato? You're the man you're the first guy who's ever said that online.
I'm not saying that has literally zero to do with the validity of the argument. I
know that's not what my validity. I'm pointing out that you're not the first person to say that, nor are you the last.
No shit, Sherlock. I know I'm not the first.
Yeah, it's not your idea. Being stoic, that's how you should get a woman to be stoic. Oh, God, what are you in the 1950s? Wake up, get a clue. That's not what women want. And if you talk to any fucking women, we would tell you that, but you guys don't listen. We don't want a strong, silent, stoic type. We want someone who goes to fucking therapy, so I don't have to do this shit for you.
Okay, let me respond to that. First of all, I talk to women all the time. I have a girlfriend. I have girls on the podcast all the time.
Wonderful. I'm glad some girls dealing with this voluntarily.
Okay. Well, I'm going to keep responding. So are you saying that you think a man who cries all the time is going to do well in the dating marketplace? Like, you think that's attractive to women?
So that's a really great, I love that, right? I love that distraction tactic, right? So I
just
brought
a simple
up,
question.
No. So that's not what happens, right? So I brought up a TikTok where you're describing the bad traits of a man that makes them a beta, and that's not going to help them dating. And I said those traits are not bad. So now you don't get to sit here and say, well, create a hypothetical situation in which this man who's crying all the time is going to have a good time. I didn't say these things. I didn't put it out. I'm not saying a man that's going out and crying all the time is going to have a good time dating. I'm just saying the traits that you have decided are not good for men and are not going to help them with straight women. I'm just saying that maybe could you consider that maybe you're wrong?
Well, you're going to have to present evidence that I'm wrong. Let me respond. So I think that Okay, don't do this condescending nonsense. I've listened to your
I'm
I've
truly
listened to your
passionate.
insanely
I'm
crazy
truly passionate.
points. Now you can listen to my points. Okay,
Yeah,
so
I didn't say anything.
okay.
I'm just gobsmacked.
Okay. So, yeah, I don't think I will 100% double down on this. I think a man now, what the argument I make in the video is that you want to take a middle path. You don't want to be the guy that's completely cut off from his emotions, but you don't want to be ultra emotional either. You want to be somewhere in the middle. That's the argument I make, and I will 100% double down on that. I think a guy who's overly emotional, who cries a lot. Women are not going to be attracted to that. They might feel pity for the guy, but that's not going to lead to attraction. Pity is the death of desire. So I think that that guy will get severely punished in the dating marketplace. And I will stand by that. And if you can present evidence of the contrary, which is why I asked you that question, which you haven't answered yet.
That's the thing. These are just like vague conversations, right?
They're not vague conversations. They're directly related to the topic of the video. I'm asking you, do you think
No, I don't mean that. I know you. They are. No, I'm not saying that. Sorry. I'm saying like your topic here of like, this is just your opinion. Like, it just seemed like, when we were talking before about wage gaps, like we can disagree and argue on that, and there are statistics. But what you're putting out here and what I'm disagreeing with, I don't have like empirical evidence behind it, and neither do you, because we're kind of just talking about vague social observations. We're just saying like our feelings based on what we see. So I don't need to like give, there's no like facts, there's no like factual based evidence to bring up, because you don't have any either. Because all you're saying is that in your personal experience, you find that men who showcase emotion and are crying often don't do well with women. Yes. You don't have evidence behind that either. That's just your feeling. And my feeling against that is that, have you talked to a fucking woman?
I talk to women all the time.
Yes, and I'll tell you, if you guys listen to us, I just find in my own life with women older than me and a different demographic than me, different ethnicities, different religions, different creeds, that the women who do really subscribe to the idea of like, we need a stoic, silent type, are also in very unhappy relationships where they don't feel heard and they don't feel listened to. And also are often older because they were taught and raised with that, like, you need a Cary Grant sort of guy. You need an old, never cry, never shed a tear, comes back from the war, doesn't have a feeling sort of guy. But the women of my age and my demographic, and who like the women who like read books and like have an IQ over fucking 100, will tell you, yeah, it's nice to have a man who can cry and understand that that's not a weakness. That's just being a goddamn human being. And I'm very sorry for you. And it makes me sad that you and other men alike don't feel like you can be sad and be really weak in front of a woman or in front of a woman, or she's going to like pity you, or she's going to think you're weak, or she's going to like make fun of you, or she's going to be unattracted to you. Like, that's like, fuck that girl. And that sucks for you that you don't feel like you can be soft in front of a woman. That really fucking sucks.
Okay, let me respond to that. First of all, I talk to a lot of women. I have girls on my podcast every weekend. I literally, this is what I do for a living, is I talk to women. And I would wager I've talked to significantly more women than you have, because this is literally what I do for work. I'm assuming this is not what you do for work. Okay, second point. Again, this is the question I'm trying to ask is, do you truly feel that like a man who is like cries a lot will do well in the dating marketplace compared to a guy who doesn't cry all the time? That's my question.
So what do you mean by cry all the time? How much is all the time for you?
Like, he's ultra emotional. He gets really upset.
No. Like, what's the frequency that means all the time? Like once a week? How much?
I don't know. Let's say like every time something that doesn't go his way, he starts crying.
Even the way that you're talking about, like language that you use, it doesn't go his way. Like, you're kind of like infantilizing an emotion. Like, you're infantilizing that. Like, if something doesn't go his way, he's crying. How about life's difficult, capitalism sucks, being alive is suffering, and like shit gets hard, and that's why people cry. And it has nothing to do with like something not going your way. How about a lot of people are depressed? Most of millennials and Gen Z are dealing with depression and anxiety. Like, what you talk about it as if like crying is such this like, it's so weird. Like, that must suck for you to like go across life and really think this way.
I promise you, my life is pretty fucking awesome. But you still haven't answered.
I'm not saying no. I'm not saying
you still haven't answered my question. The question again. Let me restate it one more time. Do you think a man who cries a lot and is overly emotional will do as well in the dating marketplace as a man?
I think your question it's not worthy of an answer because I wouldn't even answer the question in order to like make it seem valid.
It's a really simple question.
Because your idea of over emotional is not my idea of over emotional. My idea of a man just basically having just normal fucking emotions and feeling sadness for you seems to be over emotional. Seems to be like, oh, if he cries once a month, he's over emotional. When that really is just like being a fucking human being.
No, I don't think crying once a month make you.
So answer my question. What is over? How many times does a guy have to cry for him to be over emotional?
Let's say like 3 times a week. Let's say 3 times. Yeah.
Okay, so 3 times a week. So if a man cries 4 times a week, he's over emotional and he's like a beta.
Well, I'm asking you the question.
No, you said it in your beta alpha TikTok. You said if a man's over emotional crying all the time, and then you just said 4 times a week, that's over emotional. So if a man cries 4 times a week, he's a beta by your own understanding, your own calculations.
Yes. Now I want you to answer my question. Finally, again, I'll overstate it one more time. Do you think a man?
Definitions are different.
Hang on. Do you think a man who's overly emotional, going off my definition of overly emotional, where he cries every time something doesn't go his way, right? He has a little bitch fit. Do you think that man will be as successful as a man who's not overly emotional in the dating market?
A man who cries 4 times a week means he's having a bitch fit and he's over emotional. Those are your terms that you keep saying as if like that's a fact. Those are just that's the way you view the world. That's not how everybody else.
Can you just answer the question?
No, because a man having a crying 4 times a week does not mean he's having a bitch fit. That's your terminology.
Okay, going off my terminology. Just go off my terminology.
Yeah, and he's fine, and he's okay. So it's not like if he's calling the girl every day and like ending every voicemail in tears, like Becca, I need you. I'm gonna kill myself. I mean, if he's doing some manipulative, crying, gaslighting situation, yeah, maybe that won't work in his favor. But if you're close to a woman, you've been dating for a while, you're opening up to her because you're having a hard time. If she doesn't find you very attractive after that, fuck her and move on to someone who's more emotionally mature.
I'm talking about a man who gets overly emotional at the slightest provocation. Going off my definitions, I still haven't received an answer about whether you think, you said that's fine, but that wasn't my question. That's fine. My question was, do you think that man?
Actually here to have a conversation.
Do you think that man? Because you keep dodging that question. It's like pretty crazy. Do you think that man will do as well?
It's not that right.
Do you think that man will do as well in the dating marketplace as a man who's more stoic and doesn't cry as often? That's my question.
No.
You don't. So you think he will do worse?
I'm sorry. I said it doesn't matter. I don't think it matters. Sorry. I misheard.
Oh, okay. So you think there's no difference. So you think the man who's overly emotional will do just as well as a man who's not overly emotional?
Men who are emotional and crying all the time, are they constantly sharing that with the women they're dating? Like, your question literally is such a stupid question. I'm sorry.
It's actually a very simple question, and you seem to be doing the most crazy mental gymnastics to try to get out of answering it.
Mental gymnastics, buddy. Your questions haven't made sense entirely the whole time. So the second thing I want to break up is
hang on.
Can men and women just be friends? Let's move on because we're not
hang on.
Men and women because I want to move on. We're not going to
well, I'd like to get an answer to my question. I've answered all your questions. I'd like to get
I've answered your question, man. You just don't like my answer.
No. I want to probe further. I want to ask follow up and qualifying questions.
You have a follow-up. Hit the follow-up.
Okay, well, it's hard for me to do when you spend like 15 minutes dodging that question. Okay, so
I answered it about 3 separate times.
So you think there's like no difference in how well they will do between the guy that basically is overly emotional and the guy that's not overly emotional? Like, do you think there's
factors you're not taking in?
Do you think there's a little bit of a difference, or you think there's like zero difference in what their success will be with women? Because you said
this hypothetical situation is not a great answer. It's not a great question. It's not a great debative question to be like, as a man, if he's over emotional, is he not going to do well with women? Is he incorporating the women in all of his moments
Yeah, let's assume the women are there for his moments of over emotion.
And once again, now it's not gendered then, because it would be the same for everybody. If I'm a woman dating a man, and every time I have a breakdown, right, and I'm having a bad day and I'm like sobbing, if I call it the dude I'm dating for every one of those moments, he's not going to be interested either. That's not a gender thing. That's like nobody wants to deal with someone who's fucking like nobody. You don't want to be someone's therapist. Like the questions you ask are just so fucking stupid. Like I can't believe it.
I can't believe you're like struggling so much with such a simple question. It is very much very much a gender thing. I think it's just insanely disgenuine to say that men who are overly emotional will not get penalized by the dating marketplace. That is like
I think it's safe to say by you and your personal experience, and I also think it's safe to say that because of the general influence of patriarchal values to tell men, and it sucks for men, right? Like this is the bad side. Like when we're talking about toxic masculinity, that's what it sucks for men, that men get told you have to be strong and stoic all the time. And if you cry, you're a weak little bitch, right? And women aren't going to like you. And if you're sad, you show any emotion, right? You show like somber, any melancholy. If you're feeling lonely and you tell your girl, like, dude, I just don't feel like I don't have anyone for me. Like I feel weak right now. You get told as a man, don't do that. That's terrible. You're a piece of shit. You need to be Prince Charming. You need to be strong and stoic all the time. Like that sucks for you guys because it's not true. That's toxic masculinity. The idea that to be masculine, you have to be strong and silent and you never cry and you can never feel anything other than anger. Like that sucks that you guys feel that way.
No, that's called a straw man argument. No one is saying that. I'm certainly not saying that. Of course, you can show emotions. I'm just in that video that you played. I'm just saying don't be overly emotional. It's okay to be emotional. I'm just saying don't overdo it. I'm saying take a middle ground. I'm not saying that you can't show any emotion ever.
You literally said a guy who's crying all the time is a beta. That's what you said.
Right. I'm saying if you're doing it all the time, but I'm saying
that's being a human being. Maybe have you thought of that?
Yeah, if you're a guy who cries all the time and you let women see that, women are not
going to be attracted to you. You're immediately a beta. If you let women see the woman that you're dating and in love with, if you let her see that you're crying because you're going through a rough time, you're a beta.
No, if it happens like a few times, I don't think so.
Okay, so then you're disagreeing now. Maybe you agree with me now, but you're disagreeing with what you stated. That's okay.
In that video,
you were just committed to being right, and there's nothing that can get in your way.
In that video, just relax. Stop while
you're exhausted.
In that video, I argue for a middle path. I don't say I argue against the red pill idea that you can never show emotion. I directly say that I disagree with that. I also say I don't think you should go to the other extreme and be overly emotional. Argue for a middle path. Yes.
You're kind of just repeating yourself. Can we move on to the next TikTok?
No, because I haven't finished my point yet.
You're just repeating everything you said.
Okay, well, it's my podcast, so I'll repeat myself as often as I want. Thank you very much. So I'm arguing. So in that video, I'm arguing for a middle path, right, where you can show emotion. That's okay. I'm just saying don't overdo it. That's all I'm saying in that video. So let's not make it seem like I'm saying you can never show emotions, because that's directly what I'm arguing against. I'm arguing for a middle path, right? And I think that's pretty reasonable for guys to take a middle path. Yes, you can show emotions around women, right? That's okay, but there's no need to overdo it and be constantly crying or constantly having a bitch fest. If that's the case, then the woman will lose attraction over you, regardless of whether the reason is patriarchy or any kind of societal factor. That doesn't matter. The woman will still lose attraction.
Do you think that maybe there is that influence, though? Could you consider that? Like, would you admit that maybe there is an influence of that?
I think there's a social factors. Yeah, I think there's social factors.
That comes from patriarchy, right? That like maybe might tell men. Can you just admit that maybe that might have a part to play?
I don't think it has anything to do with patriarchy. I think it has the idea.
You just said it. Even if there
no, I said there's social factors, but I never said there was.
Before that, you said patriarchy. You said it yourself.
No, I did not.
You didn't say that like 10 seconds ago. You didn't say that.
I promise you, I did not. I said I don't think.
Okay, I can't wait for you to watch the recording because you did just say that.
Okay, Chad, did I say that the reason for the fact that, and just be honest,
you did say the word patriarchy about 15 seconds.
I did say the word patriarchy. I don't think it's patriarchy. I said it to state the fact that I don't think it's patriarchy. I think there's social reasons, yes, but social reasons don't necessarily have to be patriarchal. Okay,
I'd like to move on to this other TikTok here.
I'd like to finish my point. I don't think that social factors are limited to patriarchal. So yes, I do think there's a reason for that. that are social factors. Women are taught that, a man is traditionally stoic, but I think the reason is irrelevant to the fact that it is what it is. We don't live in an ideal reality. We live in the current reality that is based on whatever the way the world was formed. And men have to acknowledge the current reality. They don't live in this ideal world. And in this current reality, being overly emotional can be a disadvantage. That's not to say you should not be emotional at all, but that just means you should not be overly emotional, and you should master and dominate your emotions instead of letting them master and dominate you. I think that's a pretty,
it just seems like you're. Can we?
no, I'm not. I think that's a pretty straightforward statement, and I don't know how you can even like argue against that. That like taking a middle ground and controlling your emotions is a bad thing.
Okay, so I'd like to move on since you're just repeating yourself. Great.
Well, I'd like to. Hang on. I'd like to get an answer to this. How's that a bad thing of taking a middle?
You are not like listening to what I'm saying, and you're kind of just like detracting and negating attention away from what I'm saying, trying to distract and like twist what I'm saying.
No one is trying to distract. I'm just asking you a question.
Well, I've already answered.
You have not answered this question. How is
I'm going to move on to the next subject. Do you want to move on to the next subject, or do you want to end the podcast?
I'd like to get an answer to my question.
So I'm going to go on to the next subject. Yeah? Okay.
No, like you're not going to tell me how to run my show. I'd like to get an answer to the question.
I've already answered the question.
If you're refusing to answer the question, that's fine. Just admit it that you're refusing to answer the question.
I've already answered your question.
No, you have not. I'm asking. Let me ask the question one more time. How is taking a middle ground where you control your emotions instead of letting them control you a bad thing for a man?
That's not what you asked me first and foremost. What I said is in your own TikTok, where you were saying the difference between alpha and beta, what makes a man a beta, that is also it's very much so a disadvantage in the dating field for women, is you say he's crying all the time, and in your own words, throwing a bitch fest. The language that you use, I'm only quoting you. I'm not going by anyone else. I'm not like making up and twisting your words. Your own language is fucked up and harmful and not very effective. And if you talk to any fucking woman, they'll tell you your idea of being over emotional, which is what, crying 3 times a week? Oh, buddy, is not very harmful and very effective or very like astute. It's not an astute observation. Like that is not what women are out here looking for. A stoic, strong man who never feels anything. And if now you want to correct yourself and say, I'm not really like saying that, hey, you can't have any emotions. That's great. I can see where you're coming from. But can you understand that maybe in some of your TikToks, you're not, and like you said, yeah, maybe, you have 45 seconds, right? Okay, maybe you don't have like maybe you don't have the best time to fully expel like your whole opinion. But can you see how if in your short TikToks, you don't have this like very like open-ended men can have emotions, but they can do it. You kind of do share this like, don't be weak, don't cry a lot, women will hate it. Like you have these fucked up. It's just fucked up. I don't know. And you kind of like everything you say just does not discredit what I'm saying. So I just feel the need to move on.
You're misinterpreting my video. I never said that you can't have emotions. There's no part in that video where I said you can't have emotion.
I didn't say you said that. I said that your way that you're describing over emotional is you're describing being over emotional as crying a lot and being weak, and that's not what being over emotional is. And also being over emotional is not a problem when you're a human being who feels emotions. That is what being alive is to be over emotional. It's to be joyous. It's to be in a rage. It's to be melancholic. It's to be somber. That is being alive. What is over emotional to you? Like, what do you just want men to pretend that they're in Mission Impossible all the time? You're not fucking Tom Cruise. Get over yourself.
Okay. Do you think people have control over their emotions to some extent?
You don't have control over your emotions. What you have control over is your thoughts and your thought patterns and letting thoughts freely pass by you. That's what intrusive thoughts are. You let thoughts come in. You try not to judge them. You try not to attach your own ego to your thoughts, and you let them go. But emotions come and go. You feel rage sometimes. You don't choose rage. You don't choose grief. You feel those things and you let them go.
Okay,
so to an extent, you can work on how you expel your emotions, but no, you cannot control your emotions in and out. And that is such a fucking crazy thing to tell men they need to do, is to control their emotions. That's fucking crazy.
Okay, let me rephrase my questions. Do you think people, not even just men, can
No.
control how their you haven't even heard my question, how their emotions manifest?
Okay, another question.
Do you think they can control how their emotions manifest?
No.
So you think like if you're angry, like you have no choice but to like punch someone in the face? Like you don't think you can control how that emotion manifests and what in your actions?
That's what do you this is why you need to read a book about psychology. First off,
I promise you I've
getting
read more books
angry,
than you.
okay, great. Getting angry and then choosing to hit someone, hitting someone's not the emotion of anger. Being angry enough that you want to hit someone is anger. Choosing not to hit someone is a fucking action. It's a thought. That's a choice. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about how emotions manifest. For example, if I feel angry, I could choose to, yes, the emotion, you're partially right. The emotion of anger, I
Oh, I'm
cannot.
entirely right. I'm entirely right. I'm
Let me
not partial.
finish. The emotion of anger, you cannot just wish it away. However, you can choose how that emotion manifests. You can get into a fight, you can punch something, or you can do some breath work and calm down. If you're feeling an emotion of, let's just say, anxiety, you can marinate in that emotion and make yourself more anxious, or you calm down, redirect your mind. Right. So
Yes. Well, anxiety, for example, since you wanted to bring that up as an emotion, that's actually, there's anxiety. Everybody feels anxious, right? Like everybody gets anxious as being a human being. You get nervous, you get anxious, you feel paranoid. But anxiety as a disorder, right, is when your brain pathways, since you brought up neuroplasticity earlier, I'll get right into it again for you. The neural pathways in your brain are sending off triggers to the other parts of your mind, telling yourself to panic and that you're in a state of fear, you're in a state of panic, something's going wrong, you're unsafe. And then that's why a lot of people have anxiety disorders, because you feel like, oh no, I'm in panic, something's really wrong right now. So there's actually not, you can, I guess, yeah, do some breath work if you want. But sometimes when you feel certain emotions, it's because your brain and your body, we're limited to these physical meat suits. It sucks. Sometimes I feel like it'd be so much easier to be an android or whatever. But like your consciousness, you are in this little animal body that makes you feel certain things sometimes that you don't want to feel. Your choice as a conscious being is to feel those things, let them go, and then make choices based off of how you feel.
right, but we have control, some level of control, or at least we can learn to have some level of control over how these emotions manifest. Meaning that's why they have anger
You deal
management.
with them, but not how they create. Like you don't get to choose to be sad.
No, I get that. I get that part. We're in agreement on that. I'm talking about how those emotions manifest, right? So that's why they have anger management class. So, for example, if you're driving a car, instead of getting road rage, you can learn to calm down. So, I think you're agreeing with me that you can learn to control how your emotions manifest to some extent, and not let them manifest in a way that's negative to you and your goal.
And that's like, Alex, I feel like if you made a TikTok saying that, but not say things in this really like gendered, fucked up, like men need to control their emotions and you can never, like, that's not, you didn't say that. You didn't say, hey guys, there are ways that we can manifest and deal with our complicated emotions and make sure that we're dealing with our emotions in the most healthy way to not harm others and ourselves. That's not what you fucking say. You say shit like, hey man, don't control all your emotions. Like, don't play semantics with me here. Like, you don't know what you
promise you I'm not playing semantics.
Okay.
So if you agree with me that you can control to some extent how your emotions manifest, then what is
you
wrong?
cannot control your emotions. You can control how you behave. We just
Right.
said.
Okay. So if that's the case, what is wrong with telling guys that they should maybe not behave in ways that are going to be counterintuitive to their goals?
Because I think the ways that you're saying don't behave in are influenced directly by these sexist ideas. Like, you say things that no piece of advice or tips or tricks that you shared on your platform are original or are unique or I have never heard before. I have heard them from hundreds of male podcasters. I have heard them in my last 23 years of life. I have heard them. I will hear them in the next 25 years of my life. You're not saying anything fucking smart or new. You're saying things that men say all the time, like be in control, don't show weakness. You're not saying anything new. It's exhausting.
Whether what I'm saying is completely brand new or said it 10,000 times is completely irrelevant to its accuracy. Something can be said over and over again and still be accurate. So that does not in any way.
But saying something over and over again is actually the definition of being insane. But all right.
No, the definition of being insane is doing the same thing. Is doing the same thing that's erroneous over and over again. Just
Which
because
is
there's many.
semantics. Come
There's
on.
that's a very important semantic. Just because something has been said, let's just assume hundreds of thousands of people have had the same exact idea before me. That does not in any way negate from its accuracy or effectiveness. So let's not even bring that up.
Yeah, let's not pretend that all of the ideas we come up with, including myself, I'm not just saying you, like, you see something that's maybe been parroted by you're parroting someone else. Maybe it's not your own initial thought. Yeah, like maybe
I fully admitted that. I know not everything I say, especially about
you
some.
consider that maybe some of the things that you share, particularly about women and their role in dating, maybe you didn't come up with by yourself, and they didn't fucking like. They didn't spore in like a vacuum. Maybe you've been conditioned to think certain things that maybe are wrong because other men have told you to think that shit. Like, hey, men, don't control all your emotions. You don't want to seem weak. Women hate that. Like, is there a possibility in which you've been told that and maybe you're wrong about it? Or like, has everything that you've ever said that you share on your platform, that's what really frustrates me here, Alex. It's not that I disagree with some of your opinions. We can disagree. It's that you seem to have absolutely no doubt and no speculation. And anything you say online, you say it with such conviction as if you know fucking everything. How about sometimes you're wrong and that maybe it would really benefit you if you shut up and listen to a woman for like 5 minutes, and that maybe it's also not a horrible thing to be wrong, that it doesn't mean you're a fucking idiot. Sometimes it just could mean, hey, you're wrong about something, you didn't know about it. Cool. Like, is that not maybe the most alpha thing, right? To like embrace humility and say like, hey, I didn't know something. You don't seem to be able to do that.
Okay, first of all, I've never once said that I'm 100% right about everything. I'll freely admit there's things I've been wrong about in the past, and there will be things I'll be wrong about in the future. So I've never once claimed that I'm right about everything.
I've had with you, even when you've kind of said something.
But I am pretty confident in my belief.
Hey, you could be wrong. You've never said in this entire conversation, hey, that's a good point. Maybe I got it wrong, or maybe
because I don't think you've actually made any good points. That doesn't mean I'll never be wrong. I just think all your points have been really
good. I would implore you to check your ego, and I think you'll learn more if you did that.
My email? My email? Check my email?
No, sorry. I said I guess it cut off. I said I would implore you to check your ego, and I think you would learn more. Not
Sweetheart, this has nothing to do with ego. This just has to do with the fact that you haven't presented any really good points. But I'll freely admit that there are things I can be wrong about. But going back to the thing you keep saying, talk to some women. Like, I don't know how many times you're gonna like repeat that, but I keep telling you, I talk to women every day. This is what I do for work.
Well, guess you're not talking to the fucking smart ones. I don't know who you're hanging.
I promise you, I talk to a lot of intelligent women. My girlfriend is very intelligent.
You can keep saying I promise. That doesn't mean anything to me. That doesn't.
Okay, well, you can, but see, like, you can go back and watch my podcast, and you can see there's a whole bunch of very successful women who I have on my podcast. So that's publicly.
Yeah, I'm not saying that they're not successful. I'm not saying
that's publicly available. That's publicly.
I don't think you're a terrible person. I think you're just not very. I think you're pretty ignorant. That's all.
Okay, well, that's publicly available information. I talk to a lot of pretty intelligent women. I've had.
Okay, no, that's not a great. You know what? Actually, forget that I said that, because that's once again another stupid fucking argument that a lot of men say of like, oh, I have a sister, or I am close with my mom, so I couldn't possibly be sexist. I don't give a fuck if you have 18 girlfriends, or your fucking girlfriend's Malala. I don't give a shit. You're still sexist. The shit that you say is still rooted in sexism.
Well, stop saying.
You know a couple women does not mean. Well, you know what I'm asking you to do when I say talk to women? I mean, like, read something by women, or watch a documentary by women or about women. Like, literally enrich your mind with content and research and education that is created and curated by women, instead of maybe talking to your fucking girlfriend, because whatever she's telling you is not enough, buddy.
Okay. First of all, I talk to women all the time. Second of all, some of my favorite authors are female. I've read quite a few books written by women, so let's not make it seem like I'm not reading any books read by women.
You've read feminist literature by women. Which ones? Name one.
No, I don't read garbage feminist theory, but I do read.
There we go. It it's a subject he doesn't know about, it's garbage all of a sudden.
No, most of the stuff feminists say is garbage. Yeah, it's not really.
Yeah, every single feminist
side.
ever on the planet, every single feminist author is garbage. Okay.
No,
and you think you're the one
no,
in the right. I would
no,
never
no.
say something so fucking like bold as that and really still feel like I'm a smart person because I would just be so embarrassed. But
Okay,
I guess that's just
no one is saying every single feminist author. I think there used to be a lot of good feminist leaders in the community. I think largely that movement has gone to shit. But so
you name one feminist leader that you thought was good that's not Susan B. Anthony?
Why not her?
You don't tell me why not her, because that's basic knowledge.
Like any feminist leader who was
name one.
Why do I need to name one? Like, why does this have to be like this?
You just said you know them, so name one.
Like, I don't know like the full thing.
Exactly, because you don't know any, and that's okay, Alex. You can say you don't know any. Don't sit here and pretend that you do. You don't know what you're talking about.
Let's flip the roles. Name one manosphere.
No. That's not how that works. That's a great distraction. It's not going to work on me, though. Sorry, love. Name one feminist. Name one.
Just because I can't give you a name does not mean that I have not read.
Well, you brought it up. Name one, buddy.
Okay, but you can't name a single manosphere author either.
That's not what we're talking. No, that's a great distraction. It's not going to work.
It's not a distraction. It's a really silly tactic to just be like, oh, name one.
Yeah, because you keep saying you read these authors and these feminist leaders, but you can't tell me one person that you like.
One female author who I really like is Charlene Harris. I've read all her books.
Okay, which ones? Name one of her books that you've read.
The whole True Blood series from start to finish.
What's her name?
She's not a feminist author.
So that's why did you bring her up? That's so
because you asked me for female authors. I have read a bunch of female
authors. No, I said
authors.
Feminist literature, feminist authors. Name one. Since you said feminism's garbage.
I do think it's largely garbage from what I see.
Garbage. Well, you have to know that you can't just. That's my fucking point with you.
But just because I don't know the name,
because you disagree with like your worldview. You don't ever try to broaden it. Like I read shit that of people I don't agree with because I want to see the other side and I want to like hear out some things. Maybe there's some new information I'm missing out on or a different perspective that I can understand. I don't mind being fucking wrong. But you and a bunch of fucking like-minded men like you, what a tongue twister, don't fucking like ever want to like broaden your horizons. You're the one who brought up feminist literature and said that you're very well read, and yet you can't tell me one fucking feminist author. So if anyone really is going to sit here and like follow you and like actually think like this is the guy that they need to get their information on, you're so fucking lost in the sauce. I cannot believe it. My thing to you, Alex, is I don't think you're a terrible person. I don't think that you're like this horrible guy. I'm not trying to, it brings me no joy at all to sit here and make you feel low or anything. Like that's not my point here. I'm not trying to insult you. So I am very sorry that I've interrupted so much. I really don't do it on purpose. I fucking have ADHD. I need to work on it so much. I'm sorry for the interruptions. But my point here was not to make you feel like an idiot. My point here was that if you're going to continue on with this platform, if you actually want to help men, maybe like admit you don't know something sometimes and do some more fucking research because there's a whole fucking world out there of like women and women's experiences that you clearly have no understanding of. And I would bet it would help you a lot in your dating advice game if you could understand a little bit more, seeing as you couldn't name me one fucking feminist off the top of your dome. So maybe do that. And that's kind of it. I don't really have anything else to talk about with you. I mean, if you want to go, I want to bring up TikTok. I didn't really want to talk about it. I guess I could really sit here all day
let me respond to what you just said.
Go ahead.
So I said that I have read female authors. That doesn't mean they're feminists. Those two are not the same thing. Feminism writing is only a small percentage of all the work written by females. Most women write other things. So I have read a whole bunch of female authors who I can name off the top of my head, right? That's a different thing. Now, in terms of let's name me one feminist author off the top of your head. Just because I can't name someone off the top of my head does not mean I haven't done research.
You can name someone if you had an hour. I mean, I don't think you read
I've had many feminists on my podcast, and I've had discussions with them. And
that's not my question. That wasn't my question. My question is, do you read any of this feminist literature? Do you know what you can't discredit something when you don't know anything about it.
I am pretty well versed in the other position. I pretty much know most of the talking points you're going to make.
Knowing the talking point is not reading or doing the research. Now,
I have done extensive amount of research on this topic. I am pretty well versed in this.
What's your research? A Ben Shapiro owned a liberal YouTube video? What the fuck is your research?
You keep assuming that I'm like all right. I'm
not saying you're all right, but I'm saying that was just a joke, by the way. That wasn't like I don't think you're actually watching that stuff. I don't think you're all right. I'm just saying that like you keep saying I've done extensive research, but fucking you just reading a couple like SJW articles does not mean or does not like that's not research. That's not research. Like where the fuck? This is a void conversation.
Well, let's
me on here.
Well,
I think at this point, no, I've got things to do tomorrow.
Are you gonna like rage quit because I'm not agreeing?
Oh, I'm not raging, Betty. I think one of us got embarrassed here today, and it wasn't me. But
you're 100%. You're 100% rage quitting right now.
Yeah, dude, I'm rage quitting. I'm just so angry. No, it's like 2 a.m. here, and I have like things to do tomorrow.
Okay, well, let me ask one more question.
Okay, go ahead.
And then you can rage quit or non-rage quit.
Yeah, you can say rage quitting. That's not what it is, but all right.
What manosphere authors have you read? Name me one of top. Yeah, like men's right authors.
That's manosphere. You mean as like just like kind of everything created by men? Because you needed
like authors who are for like men's rights or for like like
men are so lacking in rights worldwide. I'm not even going to dignify what a stupid question.
Yeah, because you haven't read any. There we go.
Because men need rights. If there's one thing men are lacking in, it's rights, baby. What fucking planet do you live on?
So when you flip this game in reverse, name one. And I wouldn't have asked that question first because
I gotta go, but it's been really lovely.
Okay. Well, if you want to rage quit, go ahead.
The question can't be flipped because
it can very easily be flipped. You're asking me, have I read any authors in your world? And I'm asking you, have you read any authors in my world?
You're gonna have to repeat that. Sorry, my internet sucks. It just went out.
Have you read any? Can you name me one author in the men's rights or the manosphere or whatever in that whole community?
Why would I read men's? What is a right that men don't have? Can you answer me that? In rebuttal to your question, what's a right that women have that men historically were not allotted?
Well, men had
one right.
Okay, well, I'm about to answer that. Men typically get pretty fucked in divorce courts. So if there's a divorce that's
not a right. That's not a right. So what's a right that men don't possess that women do? One right, a human right.
The right to custody to their kids. Men typically get fucked.
That's not a right, buddy. Custody battles. First off, women get more. That's not a right. Like you just say shit sometimes, and it doesn't even make any sense. That's not a right.
Well,
if you want to talk about the disparity in child custodies, absolutely, it is geared more towards women, and there is a problem there. The reason why it is geared more towards women, and it's sometimes a disadvantage to women too, is because women will get more custody because they're still seen as the primary stay-at-home moms, even if they do have a full-time job. And because we stem from a patriarchy, we stem from a country, right, that was based on the nuclear family idea of a man goes to work, he gets he does his 9 to 5, he brings home the bacon, and the woman's at home raising the kid. That's why women get more of they win more in the child custody battles, because historically, economically, women were staying at home more. So the courts just decided, which also are run by men, that the woman should get the kid, get the kid because they're going to be home more, and men are going to be out working, and they're going to have to send over the child support. So once again, that's like you're just bringing up points that prove. That's a
lovely answer to a question that I completely did not ask. This is what the management.
Hey, I'm not reading. I'm not going to dignify your like. Are you really genuinely reading shit about? You couldn't answer.
Well, you want me to read
a men's rights. What men's rights author do I know? When you couldn't even tell me a right that men don't have. So tell me a right that men don't have, and then
I literally just told you one. This is something that the manosphere.
That's not a right. That's literally not what a right means. Do you know
a right to equal custody of your kids? Yeah, that's a pretty straightforward right. Now I'm gonna ask this question again. I'd like to get a clear answer.
You just saying it again doesn't make you right.
You asked me if I could name one feminist author. I'm asking you if you can name one manosphere author.
No, because I don't read bullshit.
Well, that's how I feel about your whole.
You asked me, could I read a male? Could I read a male? What'd you say? You said a male, not a menomist. Sorry,
A
you said a male.
manosphere. It's the opposite of feminism.
No. But before you said a male's rights author. So what right? I'll read a male rights author if there's a right that men have that women don't. So what right do men have?
Pure semantics. I'm just taking your question.
You said before. You
the
said
manosphere. Hang on.
You said men's rights authors. You said that 4 minutes ago. So what right do men not possess that women do? Answer me.
I've already answered your question.
I would like to go to bed because I got shit.
I've already answered your question. I'm just taking your question and flipping it. It's a very simple question. You're asking me. You are not good at this
debating shit, man.
No, like the whole chat is literally laughing at you right now, and they think you're an embarrassment.
I'm sure they are.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask this question one more time. You've asked me if I've read feminist authors. I'm asking you if you've done the same for the opposite end of the spectrum. The opposite of feminism is the manosphere community. I'm asking you if you can name me one.
Really lacking in rights. They're really much so lacking in rights, aren't they? Just
have you? Can you name me one? Can you name me one manosphere author?
Babe, no. Can you name me a right that men have that women?
You're holding me to a standard. You're holding me to a standard
that men have that men do not possess that women do.
You're holding me to a standard that you haven't even done yourself. You're saying
you can talk over me if you want. Can you name me a one right, just one? I would ask for a couple, but can you name me one right that men do not possess that women do?
I've already answered your question. It's a child custody.
Yes, and you're wrong. Child custody is not a right. What are you talking about?
Okay. Completely irrelevant to discussion.
Can you name a different? That is completely irrelevant. Directly. It's like directly relevant.
Okay.
So how is it not relevant?
Because whether men have
you're the one who said male rights authors.
Okay, just forget about that one word. Focus on the manosphere. I'm trying to explain to you that this is the opposite of feminism.
What rights do men know? Because I want you to answer my question.
You're like either purposely playing dumb or you're just like
I'm not playing dumb. You're just not very good at debating.
Like, I promise you the whole internet is going to laugh at you because you're like literally making a fool of yourself right now.
I'm glad I'm sure they're laughing at me and not SpongeBob with the suds. I'm sure.
No, like I'm pretty sure they're laughing at you. Okay, I'm going to ask this question one more time. And I don't know why it's a hard question. You seem to have a hard time answering basic questions. You're saying to me that I should expend my worldview and read authors of people who think differently than me. I'm asking you if you've done that too.
The manosphere is a real fucking subject. Feminism actually is a subject.
Okay, so men's issues don't matter. Only
manosphere is like an urban dictionary word that men came up with in like the last 10 years. Yes, it is.
There's men's issues and there's women's issues.
I'm not talking men's. Obviously, there's men's issues.
Okay, that's what the manosphere writes about.
That's not like a real fucking subject, man.
There's a whole bunch of authors on this topic. Now,
yeah, okay. So what is a right that men do not possess that women do?
Oh my God, it's irrelevant.
Can you answer me that question? Because I can name a lot of rights that women do not have.
You're just like redirecting the conversation because you don't have a good answer to my question.
I've already answered what I say, and then I redirect it back to the main point, and you get upset about it.
Forget about.
I'm a better arguer than you.
No, you're not. I promise you're a million times worse. Forget about the word men's rights for 1 second. Just forget about that. Let's just focus on men's issues.
I just have to point that out since you love to do that. You didn't answer my question, so it's fine.
Okay, fine. I didn't answer your question. Forget about the term men's rights. Let's focus on men's issues. Feminism talks about.
It's 1:50 now. I have to go to bed. I've got work tomorrow.
Okay, so just to be clear, you haven't read any books on men's issues.
Babe, I have read books on men's issues. I've read books on masculinity. I've read books on the way that patriarchy and sexism hurts men as well as women. I've watched a lot of documentaries on it. I have read it.
Name me one manosphere author.
Manosphere, buddy, you sound like a fucking joke. Like, it truly is just like.
It's a really simple question. You're just like digging your own hole.
I don't read manosphere literature. And
okay, so you want me to read arguments from.
I gotta go, Alex. I know you're gonna say I'm rage quitting because.
Okay, you can rage quit all you want. That's the good thing about living in.
I'm not rage quitting. I just have like, I would love to just like end this on a good note, but I do have to go to sleep.
I mean, it's pretty hard to end it on a good note when you're so disgenuine. Like, you're holding me to a standard that you're not even willing to hold for yourself. You want me to read book from the other side, but you're not willing to do that, and you're using that to articulate a point.
Manosphere is not like it's not a fucking subject taught in school. Feminism is. I'm sorry.
Okay. Feminism is a subject that's only been taught in school for the last 5-10 years. It's not historically been taught in school. And
why do you think that was? And why do you
again, stop redirecting whether feminism is something that's legit or full of shit is irrelevant to discussion. There are men's issues.
Well, no, you can say it's irrelevant. Unfortunately for you, it's not my idea, nor is it my position or opinion. Feminism, unfortunately, is just a thing that exists, and it's a fact.
Okay.
Just
so do men's issues.
Also is a fact, me having to go to sleep.
And so are Manosphere, and seems like you haven't read one author in that community. But
really, you got me, Alex. You got me. This whole chat, you had me the whole time. You got me. I've never read a Manosphere.
I mean, it's
literature, so you got me. You know what? Just tomorrow, I'm going to go on Breitbart. I'm going to buy Jordan Peterson's next book, and I'm going to buy a great book by Ben Shapiro. I got to go to sleep.
Well, why should I read feminist authors if you're not willing to read any authors from my community?
Because you're the one who's deciding that you're a love guru and you're a dating guru and you're teaching guidance on what it is to be a man and how the dynamics between men and women. You're the one who made a platform saying you're the teacher. I didn't, babes. And on that note, I got to go to bed.
Okay.
All right, it was lovely talking to you.
You can rage quit Martin Scorsese.
You
that's
can
cool.
say I'm rage quitting. I've been talking to you for like an hour and a half. I don't know how much longer.
I know, but you keep getting butthurt progressively more and more.
Babe, I'm not offended, but you can reject all you want. I just have to go to bed, Alex.
Okay. You can go to bed.
All right, rage quitting out. Bye, babes.
Okay. What a joke. I'm sorry. Oh, that chick is such a joke. Like she's holding me to like a standard that she herself, like, I don't know how ridiculous that is. Like, I'm supposed to read feminist authors. Like, I think that's such a dumb argument to say, like, oh, can you name me one? Can you name me one? You guys will never see me do that in a debate, right? Like, oh, name me one author, name me one person. I think that's a dumb thing because sometimes people can't recall things at the top of their head. But if she's holding me to that standard where I have to study her side, then if she's going to make that claim, then I think it's fair that she reads something on our side of the internet, and seems pretty clear that she hasn't. So, like, I don't know how she's going to hold me to that standard. So either don't hold me to a standard that you yourself is not willing to hold. Like, I think that's pretty ridiculous. But yeah, like, I think pretty much all her arguments were ridiculous. I don't know, man. Like, she's projecting a whole bunch of points like, oh, you are talk to some girls. Like, I promise you that I talk to way more girls than you on my podcast. Oh man, this has been going on for 4 hours. Shit. Yeah. Okay, that was funny. Yeah, but she's like obsessed with like this idea. Like, we disproved the wage gap. Like, every time I would disprove one of her points, she would want to move on. And I kind of like let it happen initially, but like near the end, I was like, nope, we're not doing this. Like, we're gonna stick on this point until like you either admit you're wrong or we reach a resolution, right? So there's no way I'm gonna like move off. Like, near the end, I was like, yeah, no, we're not playing this game. You can't like fucking change the topic every time you feel like you're backed into a corner. But yeah, interesting chick, I guess. But anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. We got another debate tomorrow, so that's going to be happening. People are saying, yeah, Alex, she was into you. I don't think she was into me. I doubt that. Okay, cool. Anyway, appreciate y'all. Thanks everyone for tuning in through this shit show. Catch y'all next time.